Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, how
I
are
love
you?
you too. I love you too, and it's an honor to be with you guys tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, man. It's seriously, it's you have one of the best reputations, I think. There's nobody that you can't mention the name Joey Kola to, and they're not like,
Oh
I
wow,
love Joey Kola.
thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
No
Hey,
matter
just
who it
try to
is.
do the right thing and make people laugh, and it's very simple. Just be nice to people, and it comes back. And if they're not nice to you, if you open a door for somebody, and they don't say thank you, we've established two things: that I'm the type of person that opens a door for somebody, and that's the type of person that just doesn't say thank you, and that's it. So you just try to do the right thing and be nice to people, and because we're all here for a half hour anyway, so you might as well get it and enjoy the time you're here, and that's it.
That is the truth.
I like that. We're all here for a half hour
We're all
anyway.
here for a half hour, man.
Makes it so much better.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though too. Like the guys that we've talked about it a little bit before, but the guys that you came up with, you had like a tight knit group because you started in '79, right?
80.
80.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. I thought you started.
Yeah, I graduated high school in '79, and right after that was 80. I was still 18. 18 going on 19. Yeah.
Wow.
I was working at I graduated ISIP high school class of '79, and my best friend and I said, we're getting off of Long Island. We're going to go upstate New York, and we're gonna rule that place. And it was so cold. We just did one semester and came back down and went to Suffolk Community College. It was so bad. So we went to Brockport State, and my friend and I were Long Islanders, and we we always gambled, and we had we always had an angle going. So my friend and I got a chance to got jobs at the cafeteria, Harrison Hall, and we put ourselves in charge of ordering the food. And in a very short time, we realized that the 5-gallon milk boxes, when they put them in those aluminum steel things, and you lift the handle and a little white nipple comes out, and you put the milk on your cereal. Well, those are 5-gallon boxes behind there. And we figured out that those 5-gallon boxes fit perfectly into the mini refrigerators that's in everybody's dorm room. So we put ourselves in charge of ordering the food. We'd order 100 extra ones, throw them in the dumpster, and at night we'd go back in sub-zero, frigid snow, lake effect, holding each other by the ankles in the dumpster, taking them out in the middle of the night, running them up into our room, and charging other college kids $20 a box of milk. So we did that, and then we ran football numbers, and we had poker going on, and we were the house, and so my parents would visit us at college, and they wonder why we had carpeting and cable, and all the other kids we had all this stuff going on. So we had like a little gambling operation going on, and that one semester that we had upstate New York. Then I came back down, went to Suffolk Community College, then went to CW Post. And at that time, I was doodling names of comedians on my little notepads. And then I was also working at Augie's Baking Company in Central Islip. I was a foreman on a loading dock at Italian bread factory. And while I was doing that, I was going to the comedy clubs, Eastside and Chuckles, and working for Jackie Martling doing one-nighters, and a guy named Lou Stevens. And this is back in the early 80s.
You skipped a step. So before you were working at Jackie Martling, what was your first time? Like, how did you get on stage?
Well, if you want to go to the real origin, we used to have family parties. My Uncle Ralph and my Uncle Ralph, my Aunt Frida, my Uncle Angelo, my Aunt Teresa, my parents. Well, whenever we had a big family party, my Uncle Ralph would play guitar, and he'd play piano, and my cousins and everybody would sing and tell jokes. So at a very young age, at 4 years old, my Uncle Ralph handed me a microphone and said, "Joey, tell a joke. Joey, sing a song." And I learned how to play the guitar from my Uncle Ralph, and he's still around. I love my Uncle Ralph, but a lot of my other relatives are gone. My parents are long gone. But our family parties were true everybody performed. Everybody sang and told jokes and danced. It was so much fun in the basements of their houses in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and Maspeth, Queens, and Ridgewood, Queens, and out on Long Island at my parents' house. And it was just it was such a beautiful, joyous time. So I was very, very young, and then I went. Of course, in high school I hung out with a bunch of wise asses, and you know, my best friend was the class clown, and I was the class comedian. Class difference there, the class clown.
You know what? That's a good question because I want to get your opinion on that. What do you think the difference is?
The class clown runs across the football field naked. The class comedian is the guy who talked him into doing it. Hey. That's an old Billy Crystal line. Yeah. So anyway, I hung out, you know, got attention in making people laugh and girls laugh in high school and stuff, and then I saw a documentary. I was watching HBO about the comedy club Pips in Brooklyn, done by Seth Schultz. And it showcased Robert Klein and Landisberg and Seinfeld and Joan Rivers and Rodney working at this great comedy club. Pips used to be Folkways Cafe on Emmons Avenue in Sheepshead Bay, and it was like it's the original comedy club in the whole country. Dice started there, and he'll tell you about that. But
my family would go. My dad has 9 brothers and sisters, and they used to go to Pips. They used to go there and hang out, and they used to see people, and they liked that kind of shit.
I was the house MC for 3 years there, and and I got to work with a bunch of people, Brenner and a bunch of people there, and
who was the first guy you saw there? Do you remember?
At Pips?
Yeah,
I think it might have been John Mulrooney.
Wow. Okay.
John Mulrooney, or you know, Vic DiBattista when I started out there, and there was a lot of.
He started before you, Vic?
At the same time, we both
at the same time. Okay,
but he was a Brooklyn guy, you know, Staten Island Brooklyn guy. And I was more of a Long Island guy. But back then, you know, Peter Bales told us early that you have to. There's a lot of Long Island comics that just wanted to stay on Long Island. At that time, you could. There was 8 full-time clubs on Long Island and one-nighters. And at that point, it was you know, Monday to Sunday, all the way around. You can get on stage every single night. So when I was going to CW Post, I was changing in my car, going to the bakery, working at the bakery, and then changing in my car again and going on stage at the comedy clubs. You know, so I really wanted it bad. So I sacrificed a lot, sleep.
Who had the tougher rooms? Was there like a rivalry between Long Island and the Brooklyn scene?
No rivalry.
That's cool.
Gig was just a gig, and you know.
Yeah. I feel like you guys back then really kind of, you did have like a solid camaraderie. Like you helped each other out, you looked after each other. You gave each other jokes if you needed to. Do you feel like that's kind of gone now?
No, I feel it's just as strong now on Long Island. I know it is.
Oh yeah.
There's a camaraderie now, and there was a camaraderie then, but it was just a different type of camaraderie. You know, you're in the trenches with each other, and you're sharing these experiences with each other. But back then, the audiences weren't so savvy to stand-up comedy, so they didn't until the later '80s. They didn't see as much of it on TV. So they felt they can come out and get drunk and not act like an audience. So there's a lot more hecklers. We worked rooms with fences around the stage and stuff, and things being thrown at you and this and that. It was a real battleground a lot of times. Wow. And when people heckled you, you know, it was if you didn't handle it right, it could have been a fight. You know?
Yeah. There's some of those videos, man, from back in the day that I'm amazed at. There's like. I don't remember who it was, but there's a guy who hits another dude in the head with his guitar. He's a guitar act. Have you seen this? And he like clocks the dude in the front row in the head with a guitar.
No, I haven't seen that. I can tell you a story about me. I had a guy, I was working East of Talking on Long Island one time. There's only a few of us, a few people in the audience, and the guy who went on before me pissed off this old fisherman guy. And we were on the second floor, and there was a restaurant down below. And by the time I got on, he was really, really drunk, and then he was heckling me. So the owner picked him up and threw him out the fire escape of the second floor, and he fell down the stairs and fell down. Anyway, he pulled this big knife out and stabbed the waitress in the restaurant downstairs.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So they called the police, and I had to be walked to my car, and Oh, I could tell you all kinds of stuff. I was working Pips one time. Rogan just mentioned this on the show. He likes to mention this story about how I was working Pips, and if you ever went there, did you ever go to Pips? You ever see Pips?
It was gone by the time I was born. I was born in '84.
So it was like you worked your way around the back wall and got on stage behind a piano, but in front of you there was like a pit. There was a pit, and then the seats went gradually up to the back of the room, and in that pit, you know, you literally look right straight down on like 4 or 5 tables, and the people in the back can't really see the hands or anything of the people in the pit. So I'm on stage and I'm a young comedian doing my act. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the show. You know, and this guy, these 2 mafia guys and this girl, this guy takes a gun out and puts it right on his lap. And he's looking up at me. He's looking at me like this, I'm doing my jokes. Hey, man, how you doing? And what's going on? And my mother this and this and that, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He's looking up at me going, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. Yeah, you're real funny. Yeah, that's real funny. You're an asshole. Fuck you. And he goes, Jesus. Yeah, what are you going to do? And he's got the gun on his lap. There's a big silver, like a nickel-plated gun. And I'm trying to stay in my act. Hey, look at that, we're having fun here. Meanwhile, looking down, this guy's looking at me, and only I could hear him because he's whispering it loud enough where I can hear him saying that. So, and he had a gun, so I wasn't really going to do much. Yeah, turns out the owner knew who he was too. Oh, he's here every week. Don't worry about him. He's not going to, you know.
He's like, he's only got a couple bullets in there. He's not even. It's in a couple bullets in the chamber. Did you ever get in any fights, or were you mostly able to avoid that kind of shit?
I was at two times. Well, one was the most memorable one. I was at the brokerage here on Long Island many years ago. It must have been like 18, 20 years ago. And I was working with my friend Steve-O. Not Steve-O from Jackass, another comic Steve-O, who later moved to LA and had a product placement company, and he writes for National Lampoon. Wow. But him and I were working up in Connecticut. And, you know, the bars were so rough back then that what we would do is when we would go in, we'd order some Budweisers. And we'd go to the bathroom because they got the amber-colored bottle. We'd go to the bathroom and empty the beer out and fill them up with water. And then we'd bring them up 2 at a time and when we went on stage and put them on the stool. And then we would just be like guzzling beer. So the audience was like a rowdy audience, and they thought we were drinking beer with them. So if you showed like, hey, cheers, everybody, thanks for coming out, and you're guzzling, but you're guzzling the water, and they're all guzzling beer, and they're yelling, and, you know, they don't even care. And so, I remember we did that show, and somebody threw a bottle at my friend.
Holy shit.
And it missed him, but it made us so mad, and like nobody really did anything. We just finished the show, got the money, went home. And I remember being both of us being so shocked that somebody, like, this bottle went whipping right past his head. Yeah. So what happened to me was about 2 weeks after that, I'm working at the brokerage, and I do this bit about White Castle. You want cheese on that cheeseburger? Yeah. And this guy has a cheese platter, and he's got a big chunk of like, he's got like, you know, like all kinds of stuff on his. When I said, you want cheese on that cheeseburger, he thought it would be funny to take the chunk of cheese and whip it at me on stage. And it goes right past my head. So I go, who did that? Now it's the brokerage. So I got my cousins in the audience. I got my friends in the audience. I got, you know, I got leather jackets and pinky rings in the audience. Right. And they're all, you know, they're all, hey, that's Joey. He's my buddy. What are you doing? Yeah. So long story short, my friends and the bouncer picked this guy up bodily and threw him out into the street. And I wound up, before they did that, I actually took a piece of cauliflower, dipped it in ketchup and threw it back at him. And it was like a whole big thing. But I finished my act, and then I went outside to see the guy, and he wound up apologizing to me. But
they always do that shit. That is fucking nuts, man. And this is, so this photo, was this, you said this is back when you were doing impressions of
I used to do Burt Young, Paulie from the Rocky movies. You know, I used to do about that. And that was, that I had just changed my name to Joey Kola, Kola from Koehler, the real way to spell it.
Right.
You know, so, yeah.
And that was also Peter Bales in the corner. You guys, was he a contemporary of yours, or did you start at the same time as Peter?
No, Peter started with Seinfeld. He was actually doing Pete's the one who told me to do the city clubs as well as the Long Island clubs. Long Island's got 4 million people here. So, that's the size of that's as many as a lot of states have. So you could just work Long Island and make a decent living. Like I said, back in the day, there was clubs everywhere. And now with the governor's guys is Brokerage, McGuire's, and Levittown. And I heard they just got a couple other things going on. So
nice.
I mean, you could pretty much.
You were just back at Governor's recently.
Yeah,
right?
last weekend. That's a picture from last weekend. There, we did well. We were able to put a third of the people in there, so we did about 110 people, which was good. But yeah, you were able to do just stay on Long Island. There were, back in the day, there were a few cities you didn't have to leave: Boston, Philly.
Right.
You could stay on Long Island. You could stay in New York, San Francisco, the whole state of Florida, which is where I got to meet the Regan boys down there and work with them and
Brian and his brother.
Yeah, yep. And I got to go to Chicago and I met AJ Lentini and Bill Gorgo and
wow.
Nick Carmen Constantino, and the Chicago guys took me under their wing, and Lenny Clark took me under his wing up in Boston, and there was a lot of camaraderie. We like to help each other because there still wasn't a lot of us. There wasn't like everybody and their brother. There's a lot of people now. If they do 3 open mics, they call themselves a comedian. I mean, in my book, you got to be able to make a living at this for a good 5-10 years, pay your mortgage, or pay your bills with doing comedy and going on the road. I mean, I did cruise ships. I did the road. I was in every state. I went to England, Canada. I went everywhere to do it, and I went with my wife from the beginning. And luckily we had a good support system. She had a sister and a mother and they all had kids, and like, my house was the big kibbutz, and I would go out and just go bring back worms to my nest. So
did you meet your wife before doing comedy, or did you meet her?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
We actually we lived 3 blocks away from each other, and we met at a party right next door to her house. It was my brother's friend having a high school graduation party, and she's beautiful. My wife, she had long black hair and dark. She looked like the girl from Meet Benema. So I thought she was a foreign exchange student. So I went up to her and I go, would you like to go to Burger? I said, the food's not coming out at this party. So I said, would you like to go to Burger King? And she goes, I live right next door. Why are you talking like that? So turns out she's Italian. We went to Burger King and I got the veal Parmesan sandwich, which she's like, what kind of Italian are you? Eating a veal Parmesan sandwich from Burger King. And she was 17, I was 19. We've been together ever since.
That's incredible. And what was when you told her you wanted to do stand-up for a living, was she cool with it, or was she like, could you maybe work at a factory?
With it. She was cool.
Wow.
She saw, I was lucky enough to, when I first got into it, I was working at the Italian bread factory and going to college, and I was making $3.65 an hour, and which was about $60 a week. So when I went into the East Side Comedy Club, first I did Dixon's. I went on a couple of times at Richard M. Dixon's, and then Jackie had a place called the Crow's Nest. I would go on, but I'd just be, just do it like a minute or two and walk off. It was nothing really. But then I went into the East Side Comedy Club on an audition night, and Pete O'Ritchie was emceeing, and I did about 5 solid minutes, and it came from real anger. I spoke from my heart, And I killed for 5 minutes, and I came off stage, and Richie Minervini handed me a $20 bill, and he said, "I'll give you another 20 if you come back and do it again next week. You want a spot next week?" I said, "Yeah." So I mean, I was working all weekend, going to college for $60. I talked for 5 minutes, and he handed me $20.
Yeah.
So I saw God. I was like, "Whoa!" And then they started saying, "Well, hey, you want to do a couple one-nighters? How much time you got?" I said, "Well, I got 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Well, you do an opening spot. We'll give you $50 to do work at this ground round. We'll work over here at the top of the town. Jerry Cooney had a club. Can you open up over here? Then you get then you do the middle spot. And then before you know it, you're headlining. I only middled for a little while. I only middled for about 4 or 5 months because I had a real tragic thing happen in my life that actually I can't explain it.
Right.
But I went from basically an MC to a headliner because of a light, an inner power that happened when my mother died. I was working the Comedy Stop at the Trop in Atlantic City. It was 1986. It was my birthday. It was October 19th. And my parents came to see me on the 18th, and it was my first real road gig where my parents acknowledged, like, wow, he's working in Atlantic City, he's on the road, this is a real hotel, a real club at a hotel. And you know, it was like Dolly Parton was doing the showroom and Sinatra was down the street, and it was like, wow, he's really got something. So it was 1986, and my parents came to see me, and the Friday night I did a great show. I was just emceeing. And then there was a ventriloquist in the middle, and then Adam Leslie was the headliner. So that was Friday, and then Saturday they sleep over, and they gave me a nice condo, and my girlfriend was with me, who became my wife, and beautiful condo. And so the next day we had breakfast, and we walked the boardwalk, and we had some ice cream, and then I put my parents in the car, and they left in the afternoon. So we went back to the room to get changed to go do the show, and I had a weird feeling. I didn't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I had a weird feeling. I knew something was about to. The way the sun was setting and stuff. I can't explain it. So we go to the club. I'm on stage doing my first 15 minutes, right, or 10 minutes, and I had to do 5 in between. And I do my 10 minutes. I come backstage, and Bob Kephart was the owner of the club, and my mother-in-law, my now mother-in-law, had called the club and got the back phone and said that my parents had been in a terrible car accident. One of them might have passed away. And at that very moment, I hear the middle act say, that's my time. Let's bring back the MC, Joey Kola. So now I jump on stage, and I'm in shock. I'm like, my parents are in a car accident. I'm looking at the seats that they were sitting at the night before. So I go on automatic pilot. I actually do 2 minutes of material of my mother waking me up in the morning to find out what time I had to get up. I bring up Adam Leslie, and I jump off stage, go to the condo, pack all the stuff, jump in a car, ride back. And she was in a hospital in Amityville, and she was on a life support and a coma. And my father had an epileptic seizure and wound up going off the road and crashing into a tree. And he was on the 4th floor. We couldn't tell him about the shape my mother was in because he would have died of a heart attack. And then she actually waited till the next day, the 20th, which is the day after my birthday, and she passed away. And my brother and I and my whole family buried my mom. And we, without my father, we had to tell him like 2 weeks later because he was in bad shape. So what happened was, all my friends, comedy friends and other friends rallied around me. And I gave up my Star Search audition, and my friend Steve-O, I mentioned him a lot. He's a good buddy of mine, got my audition and wound up getting the show. And I was in a deep depression. You know, when someone dies, people say to you, what can I do to help you? So I said, well, I can't sleep. Can you give me some NyQuil? Well, I had 10 NyQuils under my bed, and I was just drinking them, sedating myself. And Steve saw that I was in bad shape. So he said, listen, I'm getting you out of here. You're coming to LA with me, and you're going to coach me on Star Search. And we wound up, I coached him. I stayed with him, and we wound up beating Jackie Martling and Martin Lawrence. And he went to the semifinals. And then after that, he lost, and we wound up staying in Richard Jennings' apartment because I knew him from Brooklyn and Long Island. He took me under his wing. And John Maroney, him and John Maroney had an apartment together because John Maroney was host that time on Fox of Comedy Tonight. So they were big stars, so they let us stay with them. And we went and did a show in the San Bernardino Valley, and I hadn't been on stage in like 30 days. And it was me, Jenny, Maroney, and Steve-O. And they said, we have a special friend in the audience. He's going to come up. It was mostly a black audience at a Quality Inn that had a showroom in it in the San Bernardino Valley. And I said, don't bring me up. And sure enough, they brought me up. I went on automatic pilot. I did 5 minutes, and I didn't kill, but I did okay. And I realized I might have a life here because I didn't talk about my mother dying. I just did my act. And the audience didn't care. They didn't care about what I was talking about. Just say things that are going to make us laugh. They don't want to know about my personal life. And I did that. And then I came back. I called Richie Minervini, and he said, if Jackie Mason's on stage on a Saturday night, I'll pull him off to put you up, and I'll give you as much stage time as you want. And I worked like an animal, and that's why I only middled for like 4 months, because I went from an MC to a headliner all during that time. And John, I'll tell you, there's some kind of an energy filled my spirits, filled my soul. And because I knew how much my mother supported me in this. And I just wrote like crazy. I got that energetic anger behind me, and I became Joey Kola.
Holy shit, man! That is the craziest origin story for a comic I think I've ever heard.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
and it was when they all got you back on stage, on stage the first time again after 30 days to go and do it. Did you feel like you yourself, like you said, you went on automatic pilot, but did it help you kind of cope with what was going on and give you a trajectory after that?
Yeah, because at that point there was so many great Long Island comedians. I mean, the Magnificent Seven was there: Nelson, Bartlett, Jim Myers, Ferrantino, Hawthorne, Minervini. There was those guys, and then the Mulrooney and Rich Jenny and Bobby Collins and Glenn Farrington, and there was just so many people that were.
Right.
That were rallying around you, Hiram Caston and Gabe Abelson, and I could rattle off a million comics. And then when you went to the city, there was Adrian Tulch and Bill Sheft, and just so many comics that knew what happened to me and rallied around me. And they helped me write. We had writing sessions, and they gave me stage time. Again, it was at a time when there was a stage every night of the week, and I did get up every night of the week, sometimes twice. Drive from place to place, and then go to the city and do late night sets. I mean, I would actually bring my car. I had an old Toyota Corolla. I'd bring my car to stand up New York and leave the keys in it. And, if I was with Ray Romano or Eddie Brill or Leary or Mario Cantone or whoever, not that I want to name drop, but
go.
I'd leave the keys in the car, and people would take my car, and I'd say, as long as it's in front of Catch by 2:00 in the morning, that's fine. Or in front of Dangerfields at 4:00 in the morning, just go. It was a beat up old car. I really didn't care about it. So, people used my car to bang around the city. So,
Wow.
It was a nurturing thing. And I still keep very, very, very close to a lot of my comedic friends, because as you guys know, you can have conversations with comedians that you can't have with family and non-coms, you might say. By the way, I got my Bell's palsy is still going. I'm 50% healed. The two hardest words to say when you got Bell's palsy are Bell's palsy. So you can't say anything with F. So the first time I got it. This is the second time I got it. 2 years ago I got it, and I waited 3 months, and I went on the road. I went to South Carolina, and it was hot. So I had to go to CVS and get flip-flops. So I walk in, and I go, "Where's your flip-flops?" This girl's like, "What y'all saying?" I go, "I need some fucking flip-flops, you fucking idiot. I got Bell's palsy. I got Bell's palsy."
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, it's healing. It's barely noticeable. I talked to you a few months ago, and you were fine. You seem good now.
Back. The neurologist said it's about 50% back.
Yeah, you're killing it.
By the way, see that thing over my shoulder here? See, where am I? This side. See that thing?
That.
You know what that is? Right there. That is the Guinness Book of World Records for fist bumps.
Get the fuck out of here.
Watch this. Guinness Book of World Records.
God. That is incredible. How did you get in the Guinness Book of World Records for fist bumps?
Guinness Book. Well, we did it on the Rachel Ray show. It was 120 in 1 minute, and I got 123.
That's officially right. That's amazing. Incredible.
See that?
Wow.
Guinness Book of World Records right there. See that? Boom. Yeah, I got a couple of things. I'll show you. I got an Emmy Award. This is the Emmy Award Rosie gave me on the last Rosie O'Donnell show.
Holy shit,
she
dude.
gave that to me, and I got a bunch of Emmy Awards. But as a warm-up guy, you just get a plaque,
Yeah. And she gave you she was so. I mean, you guys were like what, like best friends, like buddies on the comedy scene when you guys started.
But we saw each other in the clubs a lot, and she became a big star because she was very funny. She was with the Long Island Laughter Company with Bob Nelson and Vinnie Mark, and Peter Bales was the director of that thing. They did improv, and she was always a great actor and a great act. She was a great comic. And,
but I saw a video. I don't know that you posted it. I don't think you posted it because I think I've Googled you a bunch just to not to get weird.
Okay.
But I've got there was a VH1 a VH1 show that she did.
VH1 Stand Up Spotlight. Yeah.
And she introduced you on that, right? Was that your first TV?
I did that 4 times, that show. Yeah.
Oh wow. Was that your first TV appearance?
I don't think that was my first TV appearance. No, it was like one of these maybe evening. I did 4 evening at the Improvs, MTV half-hour comedy hour where I used to do this painter bit in my act. Bob Ross, and he used to flip out and have a flashback. Actually, Bob Ross saw the bit and he liked it, and he actually sent me a letter. And he wrote a handwritten letter, and I got a paint kit in the mail, and I have that too.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I've been lucky. I've been really, really blessed and lucky, man. I don't ask for anything else. I just want to pay my bills. I don't have insatiable number. I just pay my bills. I raise butterflies. I make people laugh. I feed birds.
The butterfly thing is so fascinating to me. That's incredible. You use them and then you set them free every year. Is that what happens?
Well, no. Yeah, what happens is I plant parsley.
Okay.
Each butterfly has its own host plant. So you got to pick a species, native to where you live. And with me, it's the monarch and the black swallowtail. Now, the black swallowtail, their host plant is fennel or parsley. So you plant that, and when it gets warm enough, you'll see them come from wherever they come from.
Right.
Lay 50 to 100 eggs on the parsley. Once the eggs hatch, the caterpillars, the little baby caterpillars, start eating all the parsley. Then they get big and they get bright green, and then they know when they've gotten big enough, and then they'll go find a branch or a top of a thing or whatever it's in, and they'll cocoon. They'll stay like that for 7 to 10 days, hatch, and then I release them. So I got all my parsley inside this hutch. So because the cardinals will eat them. Because they're not poisonous. Whereas the monarch, I plant milkweed, and that's poisonous. So the birds know not to eat the monarch caterpillar because they'll die.
Oh wow! I've never did.
Black swallowtails. I also planted a black cherry tree for the yellow tiger swallowtails.
Tell me if you think this is true. I feel like comedians have the most interesting side hobbies because it's literally anything to keep anything besides watching or doing anything comedically. Like comedy is like for the nighttime and the couple hours we're on stage with our buddies, and then everything else is like
Well, look at Joe
the fact
Starr.
that you raised them.
Joe Starr he's a great artist. He's a writer. Good drinker, and
good drink.
He's one of our good buddies, you and I. And
I had my first drink with Joe Starr.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was 21. He invited me up to. Sounds like a sketchy story, but it's not. He had me come up to AC with him and Chris Monty. We're doing Borgata.
Yeah.
And I didn't really drink.
Oh, were they with Max Alexander at the time?
No, they weren't. No, I wish they were. I never got to. Max and I were Facebook friends. I never got to meet him.
Right.
And he would always send me the funniest, weirdest birthday greetings. It always made me laugh whenever because we would just say happy birthday. We never met each other.
Right.
But no, he was with some guy who opened up. I'll never forget this. I don't know who he is, but he opened up by singing "What's Going On" by Four Non Blondes. Do you know that guy?
It doesn't sound familiar to me. No,
I can't remember his name. Joe Starr would remember his name, but they were Monty MC, Joe middled at the time, and this guy said, "What's going on?" when he got on stage. It was the weirdest fucking thing.
Yeah, I was went to the B bar and drank a little bit, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and then I was with them, and I was like, and they were like, "Oh, what do you drink?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't have anything to drink." And he was like, and he got me a drink. He got me like a really classy thing or whatever. I don't remember what it was at the time, but that was my
Jack Daniels on the rocks.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because when I got to that was another thing too. I got to their hotel room and they had jazz playing and a bottle of it had to be brandy or something like that.
Yeah,
but it was in a nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blew me away.
There's no better people to be in Atlantic City with than Chris Monty and Joe Starr. Monty and I just did a gig together last week, and it was so funny. We did a winery. There he is.
Nice.
We worked together last week, and then he came to see me at Governor's again Saturday. But we did a big winery, and it was the first time I had done 50 minutes straight, 5-0, in a year. And I got to be honest with you. I'm doing this 41 years, and I was a little bit nervous, man. I had my act in my pocket, and I had a whole book of, about 7 pages of new stuff. And I said to hell with it, why I got rid of my nerves and I let anger take over. I let my anger get behind to keep it fresh. I found the anger that wrote the bit initially, and then I did some new stuff too. I did a new bit about how my wife and how I negotiate for sex with my wife, like Michael Corleone and Hyman Roth, and The Godfather. I walk in like Hyman Roth and I go, if you're naked in the bed, I'll know I have a partner. If you're not, then I'll know I'm masturbating.
That's a great fucking bit.
I wrote this bit about something that true that happened last week. You ever like be in the house with your family or a bunch of people, and like you drop something heavy, and everybody's like, "Are you okay? Is that all right? What happened? What was that?" I'm at the point in my life now with my family where no one cares at all. Like I had 2 10-pound weights and I dropped them in the dining room. Glasses shook. The brake front almost fell down, and it was like no one. And I knew they were within earshot, but no one said, "Are you all right? What happened? What was that?" Nothing. And about 5 minutes later, I could have sworn I heard, "You think he's still breathing?"
Oh my God. Great. So that's what we all have to look forward to.
Exactly.
Oh man. So I can't imagine. So you don't a lot of comics that I've talked to, they all say the same thing, that feeling of like momentary flight or fight, is still in you when you go on stage. Does that ever go away? Because you just said after whatever, you still had a little bit of whatever and you abandoned it.
We were high. When we did that show last week, the drive back, we were high for about an hour.
Wow.
The only way you could tell anybody to explain it is it's like 1,000 times heroin. I've never done heroin, but it's got to be 1,000 times what the elation from heroin would be. I mean, it's such a high when you kill and you make people laugh, and it comes right back at you.
Mm-hmm. I did the Asbury Band-Aid Fest. It wasn't a fest; it was an event. It's called Asbury Band-Aid, and it was at Asbury Park at the Stone Pony. And it was it's the first time I'd been back on any stage in a year and a half. And my only job was to go out and do like a couple of minutes of material, and get them to raise more money. Right, we raised like $50K for Jersey Shore artists.
Nice.
And it was the weirdest lineup ever. It was me, the governor of New Jersey, a senator. You know what I mean? Like, the only time I ever thought I'd see my name in between the governor and the senator is if I was being arrested for something terrible. So I was just like. But the craziest thing is that there was no audience there, but there was still the crew who was filming it for TV, whatever.
Oh, you froze up.
But out of my material for the thing, I was getting. Oh, I froze.
Yeah, I got you.
Am I back?
I got you now.
Okay. So what I was like, it was the craziest thing because I hadn't been on stage in a year and a half, but I did like a couple minutes of material for the show, and the crew was laughing, and in my brain I was like, "Don't get off." But I had I could only rest of the show. I had to introduce the next band. So I would, but I'm having a good time and I'm getting laughs. So I just keep going. I'm riffing, and I can't wait to do a full show. I'm finally fully vaccinated.
Me too. It's great, man.
Yeah. And I want to do like another thing coming out of this too, man, is like, I missed everything you were talking about where there's shit you can't say to anybody else except for other comedians. Yeah. It was horrible. Not like as soon as we did that charity event and everybody was kind of together and talking and bullshitting. That was exactly what I needed because I was like being hostile towards regular people. Like, you know what I mean? Where you don't have that outlet.
I totally understand. And I mean, I hate to sound pompous in a way or whatever.
It's the perfect show to do it on. Let's go.
Yeah. But when you're with other comics, when you're in a green room, and let's say there's 6, 7 comics you respect.
Yeah.
Because they've made you laugh. You know their level of clever.
Yes.
You know where they're coming from, whether they're right wing, left wing, or whatever. There could be Democrats, Republicans in that green room. Mm-hmm. There's still a general respect.
Yeah.
I'm with people that also figured out how to make a room of people laugh. Mm-hmm. Everybody does it in a different way. So you could run bits by, you could have a conversation on a different level because guard is down, yet you could say things that are going to get right through to the bone where you couldn't do it to a non-com.
Yeah, my God. And it's like, But that was the craziest thing during the pandemic, because it was being around. Like I would talk to my friends virtually or whatever, but I didn't have that comedy outlet.
Yeah.
And then a couple of times I remember them being like, "Are you okay? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'm just not. I have nobody else to talk to or say this shit
Right.
to."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And you know what's crazy too is you were right about like the whole like the Democrat, Republican, or whatever it is when you're in a room full of people, because if you're comics, I always describe it as remember the old Warner Brothers cartoon where it was the coyote and the sheepdog?
Yeah.
And they would clock it. That's comedians. You can argue with that same person.
And
you could,
how you doing, man? You know, I mean,
yeah.
clock in, clock out. Oh, I'm a big Warner Brothers guy.
Me too.
To me, Bugs Bunny is the ultimate.
Yes.
I don't have any tattoos, but the first one I'm going to get, because as soon as I get off these blood thinners, I'm going to get a tattoo of Bugs Bunny on my calf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. I'll draw it. Let me draw it for you.
Hey, all right. Cool.
That's fantastic, man.
Well, I was telling Tom before we started, there was some moments in my career that I had to pinch myself to really, and I'm just looking at this picture here as I'm talking to you of me and George Carlin. He came to see me at the Riviera Comedy Club in Las Vegas.
That's fantastic. Wow.
His eyes are partially closed, but
but that is incredible. The fact that you even got, I mean, how did that friendship start?
Well, he called my manager. My manager was Jeff Sussman at the time. He manages Joe Rogan and Kevin James. And I still got the tape somewhere. I played it on Jim Brewer's final show. Actually, one of Jim Brewer's final shows. When the day Carlin died, I played it on Jim Brewer's Sirius satellite show.
Right.
It was a message to Jeff Sussman on his machine. Hey, Jeff, this is George Carlin. Just want to let you know that I saw Joey on a television show, and I heard you manage him, and I really like his stuff. I really think he's funny. If you can have him give me a call, my number is blah, 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 blah. I live at Old Oak Road in L.A. If he wants to come and see me, I'd love to start a friendship with him. Thanks. Click.
Wow.
I got that tape somewhere. And sure enough, I called him, and we hit it off. We really hit it off. He came to New York. We had a sandwich and a beer, and then he came to do shows in Vegas, and he came to that show. He called me in the afternoon. Do you mind if I come to the show? I said, sure. We held a booth in the back, and he snuck in. He watched my stuff. When we got back, he sent me all his tapes, and he wanted me to kind of critique him and look at him, and we did. We went over it bit for bit, and then I never want to say that I wrote for him or with him, but we had conversations that. I think some of the conversations we had influenced greatly some of the things that wound up in a couple of his specials, namely the bit where he praised to Joe Pesci. You ever hear of him do that?
Yes, I love. Yeah.
So we had a conversation. I used to do Joe Pesci. Hey, making ambrosia.
You
take 2 eggs and you crack those fucking eggs into the fucking bowl. You mash the fucking thing, and you put some marshmallows in there, a couple of things, nuts, they're optional, and you mash that in there. So Joe Pesci doing a cooking show. So he liked when I did that. So we talked about Joe Pesci, and then we started talking about God, because I believe in the teachings of Christ in that way. Not religion per se, but the teachings of Christ.
Right.
And we started talking about that. And we got on the fact that he'd like to pray to Joe Pesci. Is that Joe Pesci is that strong a personality? So we had that conversation, and then shortly after that, his that bit came out, and it progressed. You know, obviously he wrote more on it, and it progressed.
Yeah.
But we had a nice relationship for a while, and then he got a little too dark. I had little kids and stuff, and he got a little dark at some points. And I said to him, George, I can't go there all the way with you, because my head's not there. I mean, when two comics are here and they're writing, it's perfect. But if one guy here and the other guy's here, you really can't.
I know what you mean.
Go there with somebody if they're going to be a certain amount of dark or a certain amount of light, or you kind of got to be on the same train of thought. When I'll be with some comics and I'll go, "What do you think about this bit or this premise?" And they'll say stuff, and I'll go, "Yeah, that's not funny." I mean, they'll think that's hysterical, but I'll go, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I got to meet Rodney a few times. I got to work.
Well, I want to talk to you about Rodney, but it was interesting that you said, about the writing. There's you and Rodney. Real quick before we go to Rodney, because you touched on an interesting point. I like that. I think it's kind of invaluable, and not enough people talk about it. Is not necessarily maybe writing or writing with somebody else like verbatim, but having those conversations that a lot of us do. They do kind of branch off and spark material and new ideas, and there's this kind of like collaborative energy that all of us kind of have, and I think it's like I feel like a lot of the Long Island guys have that, like you and Star and all those guys.
We used to do at the East Side Comedy Club back in the day, like 10 of us would get together during the afternoon at the East Side Comedy Club. Richie would open the doors. And we'd go in there and we'd all write. We'd sit around a table, and each of us would bring about 10 premises. Right. So I'd sit there. Let's say I'm sitting there, right? And I'd go, okay, lemons. I need to write something about lemons. So the guy next to me would say, this is a joke about lemons. And the next person, that joke. They'd all just spit lemon jokes at me. Then we go to the next person. They'd say, I got bit by a coyote. And then we'd all spit jokes about a coyote. And we'd go around the table about 10 times in the afternoon. Then we'd break up and go have dinner. We'd walk across the street to Burger King, or we'd go to there's a steak place next door. We'd have dinner, come back to the club, and we knew each other's acts so well that we only had to do the new stuff that we wrote that day.
Wow.
And if a comic was on stage and they reverted back to their original act that they knew was going to kill, other comics in the room would stop them and call them out on it.
Holy
say, no, you didn't write that today. You didn't write that today. In front of a full house on a Monday or a Tuesday at East Side. And that held 200 people, 225 people. Yeah. So that's how you had to do the new stuff, because you had 8 other comics in the back of the room that if you did your act, they were going to call you out on it. And if 2 of them didn't know your act, the other 6 did. We knew each other's acts so well. I still know the acts of a lot of people that I started out with. I mean, there's stuff that sticks out, and the comedians that stick out.
Yeah, there's always
that's how you become memorable. You become memorable because, you do bits that people remember that bit. Like they'll go, Joey, do the cat noise, or do your grandfather laughing, or that's your hook. You got to be known for those bits. If you don't have those bits that people remember, then you're not going to get remembered.
Right. Yeah, the dog bit is always one of my favorite bits that you do. I just love. I mean, that's fucking hysterical. Just the whole thing, and acting it out. And that's why I like it too, because I could see you actually doing that. All of it.
Well, it's every day. Today I did it. Today, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it. I'm in the office right now where my daughter. I got wee pads right next to me because she's got 2 chihuahuas that go on the wee pads. So and we've had dogs since I was a kid. So I'm 59. I'm going to be 60. I've been cleaning up dog shit my whole life. And I hate it. It makes me so.
I can hear See, this is what we were talking about before, where you were saying that like you're one of the nicest guys in show business in comedy, but underlining your act is just sheer anger, frustration. Yes. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. When I used to run into the brokerage, I still do it every once in a while. When it comes back, I'm going to be doing it a lot. But I'm known for calling up on a Thursday night, go, I'm coming in. Something just happened. And I'll run on stage, and like when Mark Lund used to be there, he used to see me running and just start laughing at the fact that I ran in, and I'm so angry I couldn't even speak. And he'd hand a note to the MC, bring him up. I get on stage, and I did a bit one night. I did a rant about how my wife thinks a self-cleaning oven doesn't clean itself. You turned it up to like 1,000,000 degrees. Everything burns to a crisp, and then those charred pieces fall to the bottom. You've got, and when it cools off, you've got to vacuum out or take out those charred chunks. It doesn't go. They don't just go away.
Right.
A self-cleaning oven doesn't. It just chars it all. She thought
my God,
a cleaning oven where once you do that, you don't have to clean anything. There's not a little guy in there with a broom that's shoveling the charred bits. A self-cleaning oven means you turn it up to 500, everything gets charred, and those little black things, the pieces of char are on the bottom. You got to clean that. So we argued to the hilt, and I said, you know what? I'm going to the club. I'll see you later. I went on stage. I did 10 minutes on the self-cleaning ovens.
Oh my God, that's fucking hysterical.
That's where it comes from, man. It's where it all comes from. The dog shit bit, the mother waking me up in the morning to find out what time I had to get up in the morning, my kids crying like they're shifting gears. That happened. My cat with the hairball. They do it right next to my head in the bed. So my cat will go right next to your head, and you got a hairball laid right next to the pillow. It's disgusting.
You're one of the best comics I've seen that implements sound effects in their act, but that everybody knows them, but no one would think to do. Everything that you do, everyone's like, oh my God, my fucking cat does make that noise. But no one would think to do it. And you've somehow brought that all together. Because I've never seen anybody else do that.
Thanks, man. I learned that when you're a performer, you got to use every tool in your arsenal, man.
Yeah.
And your hands, I studied with Joanna Bexon. I studied acting.
Me too.
And everything, she's great, isn't she? And
yeah, she's the best.
You use your hands, you use your hands, your head, you use your words, your facial expressions. Mm-hmm. You use every tool in your arsenal. And when Carlin came to see me in Vegas, and then we went to go see him, and I actually saw him walk 200 people. Me and this comic Pete Voros, that same weekend, he invited us over to the Jubilee at Bally's to go see him. And Carlin had a note for me. He watched my act, and he said to me, why? He said, most of your punchlines you take straight out to the audience, but you did a couple where we saw you thinking, but you did the punchline to the side,
Yeah.
Why don't you take your punchline straight out to the audience? Like, take them straight out, like when boom, boom, right there. So I said, I don't know why, but I'm going to show. And he gave me that note. So that came back. I'll tell you how that came full circle. I'm doing the Crescent Beach Club on the North Shore of Long Island. Me, Chris Roach, and Tommy Gooch were doing a charity gig for Tom and Gigno. And downstairs, Jessica Curson is coaching Robert De Niro doing the movie The Comedian.
Right.
So he must have had a break in shooting, and Jessica comes upstairs, and she sees me, and I'm like, Jess, Joey, hey. She goes, you're not working here, are you? I said, yeah, I'm about to go on in a little while. She goes, holy shit, I'm bringing De Niro up to see you.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, what? She goes, De Niro's downstairs shooting a movie. I'm bringing him up to see you. So Gooch goes on, Roach goes on. Sure enough, the director and the whole 20 people come up. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Kola, and they watched I'm doing an hour. So they watched the first 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they all leave for the next 20 minutes. And the last 20 minutes, De Niro came up and stood in the back of the room by himself.
Oh my God.
So I come off stage and I run right to the back of the room. Now the audience is all looking at the stage. They don't see he's in the back of the room. So I make a beeline behind the raffle baskets where he's standing.
Right.
And I said, wow, Mr. De Niro, it's an honor to meet you, and thank you for watching my show. He goes, man, I love your energy. I love this. He goes, tell me one thing. He goes, your body language is very important to when you take a punchline. You do your punchline straight out, and you tend to keep your hands up by your head to make a point, and you bend your knees, and then you almost lunge forward in delivering that punchline. I said, honestly, George Carlin told me to take it straight out, but I added bending my knees and using my arms and to use every tool in the arsenal again to drive that point home, to drive that joke home, to drive that punchline home, whether it be a word or a line, to drive it home. And that's part of the art of what we do, to break it up. And if you want to break it up into a formula, if you want to look at my act in a formula, it's set up, punch, punch, tag, tag. I'll try to tag it twice before I do another setup again. So I'll set it up, and sometimes I'll try to get 3 punchlines out of it, and then try to tag it at least twice. And Richard Jenny taught me how to do that. He said he used to tell me a bit is never finished. A bit is never finished. You can always tag the shit out of it. So if you watch Seinfeld work, there's a real mechanic, and he's got every note that he's ever written. And I do the same thing. I got it all on yellow, legal pads and just pages and pages of stuff. I'm sitting next to you as I'm talking to you now. I'm sitting next to 3 notebooks full of stuff from pandemic stuff that I have to do.
Yep. I know what you mean, man. I still do the thing where I'll have notebooks in front of me, but if I have a napkin, I still write shit down on the napkin or a torn piece of paper here or whatever. And then eventually I use my phone a lot for notes, but it all just kind of comes together at some point.
Yeah, I always keep a little pad in my back pocket and 2 pens and a marker. I always keep that stuff. But there's also, on that same note, I always do my old stuff too. And a lot of people say, "Oh, Joey Kola hasn't changed his act. He always does that cat noise. He always does this, always does that." Yeah, because you know what? Guess what? I'm not famous enough to where people memorize my whole act. B, most audiences don't care. They want to see the same thing. And when 2 people bring another 10 people to see you, if you don't do the bit that you did when they saw you the first time, they're like, "Well, why didn't you do the girls, so the mother waking you up, or this thing, or that bit?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that?" They say. And so I'm trying some new stuff. Well, we like the old stuff. Keep doing that.
Right.
So it's got to be mixed. If you go to see Pink Floyd and you don't do Comfortably Numb, James Taylor doesn't do Fire and Rain, you get pissed.
Exactly. But that's the thing, though, too. You have bits that are different than just, there's comics that'll talk about, social stuff or their lives or whatever, yada, yada, yada. But you have bits that are uniquely yours. So when people come to see you, they want to hear that chunk or that piece of your life that they're telling their friends about, because they can't do the joke well. So, they tell half of it.
It comes through my filter. I've had a lot of bits stolen from me. I'm not going to mention any comics that are working right now. I'm just kidding. No,
like the devil.
But the thing is, I've had a lot of bits stolen from me, and a lot of people have written for me, and I've done those bits. But here's the thing: if you're a comic worth your salt, you should be able to follow somebody who does your act word for word. And but you should be able to follow your own act with the personality and what you bring to it, your filter. You should be able to just bring what you bring in the moment to it, And a lot of it comes, John, from taking the time to daydream, taking the time to, people use the word meditate now, but taking the time to settle into a comfort zone of a daydream, a sunset, a staring into whatever. For me, it's like saying a prayer and then listening to a song, or you've got to bring yourself to that place where it's like a big soft pillow, and then you can create.
Yeah,
it doesn't always have to be in a state of calm. Like a lot of my bits come from when I'm in the shower or mowing the lawn. Like I'll be mowing the lawn, and the motor's going, and I'm and then a lot of stuff comes to me that way. So you got to find that thing that gets you in that zen where your mind is not like in acting, you're always doing a task, especially Joanna Bexon's. You're always doing something, but you were saying the words on the page, living within the moment as if, right? So whatever action you're in, now, instead of saying the words on the page like an actor would, just take your mind and delve into things that A, make you mad, B, you're passionate about, something that's on your mind, and then try to find the right hook that's going to, make it funny.
Yeah. And that's, for me, it's biking. When I bike, I like to go out every day, do like 15 miles or whatever. But as I'm doing it, for some reason, I get into a place in a zone or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I'll actually have to like either hit a, thank God for technology too. You hit a button, I just talk my notes into my phone or whatever. But it's so funny how like when I'm biking, I used to think that all the time. Why is this coming to me now? But I realized what you just said. It's because I'm relaxed. I'm kind of, in a good place.
Your body's moving. Your hands are busy. Your legs are busy. Your body's moving. So those endorphins are going through your body to feed the muscles, but it's also feeding your brain. You know, you can't create unless this thing is going. And I hate to say it, but a lot of times, I mean, with me in particular, it's the adrenaline that comes from anger. The anger, and that's why my 8x10 is like this, because I want to shake people and go, what's wrong with you? That's my 8x10, like that. Because I just want to say, what is wrong with you? Listen to me. And most of my material, I don't get political. I mean, I have some opinions about things, and where we've had conversations about that. It's basically autobiographical about my little world, my wife, my kids, the pets, the house, the thing, all the little things I have to do to get from A to B, and then pay my bills, and then just wake up the next day, and then also you got to enjoy the little bit of beauty, and like what's greater than the first sip of coffee in the morning, or a nice bacon and eggs sandwich?
There's a George Burns quote that basically, I can't remember what it is verbatim now, but I think about it all the time, where he's talking about enjoying just saying, or like just taking a minute to say, you always Tom said,
I agree. I agree with Tom. I used to say, what's the great? All men want in life is eat, sleep, shit, and have sex. That's it.
Yep.
Fit into one of those 4 categories. But you were saying George Burns. What did he say?
George Burns had said something along the lines of, like, you should take those moments to say that, just stop for a second and go, I love this cup of coffee, or this isn't a chore, whatever it is. And I completely agree. It's one of those things that I try to keep in the back of my head, is just to, like, if I'm enjoying whatever I'm eating, I'm gonna fucking say it out loud and take a moment. This is a great conversation, or a great day, or whatever the fuck it is.
Right. Well, like I said before, we're only here for a half hour, and I believe in the teachings of Christ, and not that I want to push any religion or anything on anybody. It's not up to me. It's up to him to do that. But all I could share is what I learned and what gets me by. And one of the quotes that I live by is when he said that he who does for the least of my brethren, he does it for me. So when you help somebody, you do it for the love of God. You do it to give over and maybe have His grace bestowed on you. And I've been living my life that way as much as I can, and it's come back to me a millionfold. So that's the way I continue to live, and hopefully it comes back to me in that way. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be angry at things.
Oh yeah. But you have manageable anger. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, I can't imagine you going off. Well,
I wanted to hit somebody in the head with a bat last week. To be honest with you.
But for an Italian, that's manageable anger. Yeah.
One of my daughter's boyfriends.
I get it. I get it.
I'm gonna, I'm not gonna talk too much, but
man.
And some relatives, I have a non sequitur in my act where I'll just go off, and in the middle of my act, and I go, and my brother-in-law is a fucking asshole, and out of nowhere, I said, that's got nothing to do with my act. I just want you people to know my brother-in-law is a fucking asshole.
Right.
And that's what
beautiful.
And that's a true that came from a real deep down anger of something that happened, So.
I got another quote for you. This is one of my favorite Kurt Vonnegut quotes. I love Kurt Vonnegut. I wish I'd gotten to meet him before he passed away. I think about him all the time. But he had a quote that said, and I urge you to please notice when you are happy, and exclaim or murmur or think at some point, if this isn't nice, I don't know what is.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah. Well, take the time to smell the roses. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Live in the moment and live in the second. And that's why I plant roses. My lilacs are blooming right now, which is actually a plant from my mother. My mother grew that plant, and she had a branch that she grew. It grew into a tree. My brother and I split it. My brother has one part of the plant, and I have the other one, and it's blooming now. And my mother passed away in '86, and I have a rose bush of hers and a lilac tree that bloom every year, and I get to smell those roses and smell those lilacs.
Beautiful, man.
That's it, and that's what it's all about. It's not about video games and trying to make more money than this and more money than that, and bang this one, bang that one, and trying to. It's so simple, man. It really is.
It is
so simple.
And I get, I mean, I feel like everybody does get like I get frustrated by certain things at sometimes, and I have to take a minute or take stock of, either things I have accomplished, or just, that everything's okay. You know what I mean? Like that I'm eating, I got a good, family, and then friends that are, are good or whatever and decent and stuff. And it takes, see, look at this. There's a beautiful picture right there.
Look at that. Oh, look at you.
I know.
You got a lot longer hair now. There's Melvin. Melvin George is one of my good buddies, boy. He's another great. He actually beat me on Star Search. Then, because a couple of years after that, I got chosen to do Star Search. I went to the semifinals, and Melvin beat me on the show. Yeah, he's one of my good buddies.
So this is the craziest shit, right? I got to tell you, because I want to talk about Rodney a little bit too, if you don't mind. But
okay.
But the last time we talked, we did a charity thing together for that guy in the Army, for Mark Riccadonna's buddy, right?
Okay. Yep.
And you were on. It was you, Melvin, and Rob Bartlett, and you guys were all talking about Star Search.
Yeah.
And you'd mentioned that Melvin beat you, and Melvin felt bad. So cut to late. Oh, we were talking about who we couldn't figure out who won in 1991.
Okay.
And I'd said Felicia. I thought Felicia Michaels won, right?
Okay.
But everybody was trying to figure out. For some reason, we refused to look on our phones at the time. So cut to later that evening. I'm interviewing Mark Brazil on the show. Do you know Mark?
The name sounds familiar. How do I know that name?
So he's a creator of That 70s Show.
Okay.
And he was he's a comic, he's a stand-up comedian, and and he was on Star Search too. And he got beaten by Larry Wilmore. And so he's telling me this story about Star Search, and I go, "Oh, dude, that's so weird." I said, "We were just talking about Star Search. We couldn't figure out, who won in 1991 or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, that's crazy. I don't even know." And then he goes, listen, he's like, I want it, because we talked for like well over an hour or whatever, but he goes, I got to go to dinner. Felicia Michaels is coming over to eat. And just after I had said, so I was like, I said, are you fucking with me? Did you just watch the last thing that we did? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And the door rings, and he goes over to answer it, and it's Felicia Michaels. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I go to her. We were just talking about Star Search 1991. We're trying to figure out who won. And I mentioned your name and everybody. And she's like, oh, I won Star Search in 1991.
Yeah.
It was the like, what are the fucking odds, dude?
That's wild. That's
wild.
Yeah. I mean, there's no coincidences. Everything's out there happening for a reason.
Yeah, that was nuts. And I was just like, I was completely freaking out. Tom was on at the time too, and we were just looking at each other like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
That was fucking nuts. But you had a good, so you Mark, Tom had brought up the photo of Rodney earlier. You were good friends with Rodney, right?
Well, not good friends with him. I that's the picture there below. Actually, both of those pictures there was the first time I went to go see him at Westbury Music Fair. When I had the gray suit on, and then the other one was in the parking lot at Westbury. Afterwards, I had met him a few times and worked the club. And then I used to work Dangerfields a lot. I actually did 9 shows in one night, prom shows. I got there at 7:30 at night, left 7:30 in the morning. And
holy shit!
So Rodney would come in a lot when we were there doing shows, and so I got 2 good Rodney stories. I got. One story, we're at the bar. It's me, him, and about 4 other comics, and we're at the bar, and not down by the showroom. We were down the other end of the bar where the front door was. Mm-hmm. And Rodney's smoking a joint. Mm-hmm. And this young cop comes in, and he sees Rodney smoking a joint. This was, this must have been the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
So the cop says, hey, Rodney, you better put that out. I'm going to throw you in jail. So he goes, hey, fuck you, baby. Okay, all right, okay. He goes, it's my joint, okay? So you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself, all right, baby? He goes, Rodney, I'm going to go around the block once. If I come back and you're smoking that joint, I'm going to throw you in jail. He goes, hey, fuck you, baby. I could use the publicity, all right? Okay. It was the funniest. I never saw a man say "fuck you" to a cop before like that. And this was back when you weren't allowed to smoke pot in front of anybody, Right. And one time, me and Bob Nelson did a tour, and Jeff Sussman was managing Bob Nelson at the time, so we called it the van tour. We just got in a van and we did, Boston, Albany. We went all around upstate Hartford and stuff. And then we did like 10 cities, and I was opening up for Nelson, but Nelson was Rodney's opening act. So one of the stops was we had to go to the New Haven Theater, and Nelson opened up for Rodney that night. So we were backstage at the New Haven Theater. We got there early, and there was a pizzeria around the corner, and we were eating Meatball Heroes and pizza and stuff.
Right.
And Rodney shows up with his assistant, a guy named Stafford. And Rodney was on the Pritikin diet, which is basically just, cucumbers and lettuce and stuff.
Okay.
And he sees us eating all this, stuff. And he's like, hey, fuck this. He goes, Joey, come here. He hands me $100 bill. He goes, go around the corner. Tell Al over there that it's for Rodney. I want 2 clam pizzas, a red one and a white one. Give me 2 clam pizzas. No cheese, just old clams, baby. All right, okay. I go, all right. He goes, tell him it's for Rodney. They'll know what you mean. So sure enough, I go around the corner, and I go, I'm here to pick up for Rodney 2 clam pizzas. I go, oh, right away. So they made one red, which is like clams and red tomato sauce. And then they did a white one, which all clams and like a garlic and oil with clams, no cheese, and just oregano on all of it, right? So I get the 2 pies, I bring them backstage, and Rodney is, he's always naked, except for wearing like a white terry cloth robe. As a matter of fact, my wife met him one time, and he stood up and the robe opened up.
Oh, my God.
Backstage at Caroline's one time. But anyway,
Jesus.
I bring the pizzas back, and Rodney takes the red one, he folds it in half, then he folds it in quarters and eats the whole pizza from the middle, from the point. You hear what I'm saying? Half and then quarters.
Oh, my God.
The whole middle out of the pizza, and there's clams dripping out.
Oh,
it's
my God.
He's naked except for a terry cloth bathrobe. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen ever in my life. And
Jesus.
He's just chowing down. Puts it down, jumps in the shower, puts his suit on. Nelson goes out, does a half hour, comes back. Rodney takes his shot of Jack, goes on stage, does the time, comes back after the show, suits off, back in the robe, takes the white one, the white pizza. It's cold now.
Right.
Opens it up, folds that in half, folds that in quarters, and starts eating that one.
Jesus
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anybody eat anything like that.
I feel like it's like Danny DeVito in the first Batman movie where he's the Penguin. Like that's the level of disgusting I feel right now.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild, man.
Stories, yeah.
Wow. He was a guy I wish I had met. I really like even if I wasn't doing comedy at the time. I love like he's just the best. He's
another wordsmith, another joke animal. Constantly writing. And
he was good to younger comics, though, right? Like he used to pay you guys.
Comics. Yeah, and he had his favorites too. And he had Nelson, Kinnison, Dice, Schimmel. He liked dirty comics.
And Roseanne, right?
What's that?
Roseanne too, right?
Roseanne, yeah, he gave her a start, and Tim Allen, and the list goes on and on. I mean, I wasn't chosen at that time. I wasn't a big road headliner at that point, you know. But I was a regular at Dangerfields. He knew who I was. I mean, he saw me on stage a few times. You know who I was. But some people say a lot of comics get bitter. Why didn't that person pick me? Why am I more famous? Why didn't I? Why didn't I? Who didn't I? You know what? We're where we should be. I had a situation happen. There's a movie called Fools Rush In with Matthew Perry. Yeah, and he was riding his friend's fame, and the director Andy Tennant saw me at the Improv in L.A. and he said, "You're perfect for this movie. I want you to play Matthew Perry's sidekick." So I said, "Great." So they flew me to Vegas. I read with Matthew Perry. It was going to be a big deal. I was going to be I was going to be broken at this movie. It was going to be a great thing for me. So I got the part, it's a second lead, male lead. And a couple weeks goes by and Matthew Perry is in New York and he's on the Rocky Allen show on WPLJ. And I happen to be in my shed with the radio on, just fiddling around, building a birdhouse or whatever. So the radio on and I'm listening to Rocky Allen, and Rocky Allen says to Matthew Perry, "I heard you got a new movie coming out. It's called Fools Rush In, and one of our good buddies, Joey Kola, is in the movie with you." And with that, Matthew Perry says, not anymore, he's not. So, yeah, that's exactly what I did. And so Rocky Allen went, what? And he goes, oh, yeah, I had to replace him. That part went to a buddy of mine called John Tenney. Now, John Tenney had just gotten divorced from Terry Hatcher, and they were friends. So I guess he put his friend John. But I heard over the radio with everybody else. So I called Jeff Sussman, and I was with William Morris at the time. I was like, what the hell's going on? They said, yeah, they're going to give you a smaller part. And I got a smaller part, which later got cut out. I still get residual checks for 46 cents every once in a while. But it was a big, and then I saw him on the Rosie. He actually ironically came to the Rosie O'Donnell show to promote that movie. And he took the time to walk over to me and go, no hard feelings, right, man? And I was like, but it happened. It was meant to be. What's meant to be is meant to be. You can't change it. Our lives are
a good way to look at it.
Predetermined, predestined. So it didn't happen. And what am I going to do? I mean, Ray Romano brought me in about 4 times to read with him to play the best friend, Frank, on Everybody Loves Raymond. That character was played by somebody else, and they knocked that character out in the first episode.
Wow.
But I used to work Rascals with Brad Garrett, and I knew all them. And Ray used to come to my house for barbecues here on Long Island, and our kids played together in the backyard. And as a matter of fact, one time Rosie was out in L.A. shooting, and we were shooting the show right next to Ray's studio. And,
wow.
And Peter Boyle needed tickets for Burgess Meredith's family. So he sends Ray over and says, is there any way you can get tickets? Because Peter Boyle needs them for Burgess Meredith's family. So I think that's a crazy dynamic.
Yeah,
I said to Ray, and I know Ray from the clubs and stuff. So I said, Ray, he's got to do it for me though. So he goes, all right, come on over. So, and he knew exactly what I meant when I said he's got to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the studio. The audience isn't in yet. They're in between scenes, and there's Peter Boyle. And Peter Boyle comes up to me and goes, are we going to be able to do those tickets? I said, I got the tickets. I got 4 tickets. Everything's all set. Just do it for me. He goes, all right, calm down. Everybody asks for the same thing. He sits on the couch in the Everybody Loves Raymond living room on the couch, and he does the Frankenstein from Young Frankenstein. And he looks at me and goes, I said, that's all I wanted. He goes,
oh my God.
At that time, a lot of comics were asking Ray to get Peter Boyle to do that for him.
Wow. That's fucking crazy.
Isn't that great? That's
awesome, though.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I got a lot of great stories like that. I'm blessed. Jimmy Fallon.
I was just gonna say, Jimmy Fallon is you had helped him out in the beginning. I opened for Jimmy. That was my first national headliner that I ever opened for.
Okay.
And it was right before he started late night, and he told me about that you were, because I was it was a big deal. It was 5 shows. I'd never worked with anybody that big before ever. His family was there. They were super nice to me. He was great to me the entire time.
Yeah.
And it was like a high. I'd still had a part-time job at a library. So it was like the biggest, and it was awesome that he liked my set and, everything too. Right. But I was afraid to go up and get a photo with him at the end. And he was like, he was really cool about it, but I just kind of hung out in the back. And he was like, aren't we going to get a photo together or whatever? And I was like, oh, are you cool with that? And he was like, I used to take photos with it. He goes, I used to bug Joey Kola. He mentioned you, he mentioned Lewis Black, he mentioned all these people. And he said that you had helped him out a lot when he was younger.
Yeah, we were working the Comedy Works up in Albany. Tom Nicky had it, not Tom Nicky, the son. The father originally had the club.
Oh wow!
And I'm headlining the set on a weekend, and there's 2 other comics from upstate, and there was this guy managing the club. I forget his name, like Scott or something like that. I forget the guy's name, but Jimmy came in. And well, first I'll tell you what happened. I'm working Rosie, and on the 8th floor at 30 Rock.
Right.
So we were at HG where Seth Meyers is now, and SNL is right down the hallway. So we shared the floor with SNL. So I get a tap. I'm walking back to the offices one day, and I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's Jimmy Fallon. And I turn around, and I go, "Hey, Jimmy, how's it going? How's the show?" He goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I go, "You're Jimmy Fallon from Saturday Night Live." He goes, no, no, no. And then he began to tell me what I did for him.
Wow.
So he says to me, he goes, back in 1980, blah, blah, whatever. He goes, you will work in the club. And I walked in, I was 17 years old with my dad, and I had a guitar and a troll doll. And I said, you mind if I do 5 minutes? And I said, no, let me just ask the other guys. The other comedian said no, and the manager said no. They both said no. So he said, well, I said, well, they said no. And the manager went up to him and said no and told the father, sorry, but we have a tight show. It's sold out. He can't, but he could sit in the back and watch the show. Okay. So the other two comics go up and I go up. And in the middle of my 45-minute set, I said, listen, I got to go to the bathroom, but I got a friend of mine who's in the back who's going to come up and do 5 minutes to entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, little Jimmy Fallon. He didn't know he was going to come up. Comes up with the guitar, troll doll. He didn't do that well, but he performed. He was there with his dad. He was adorable. And I had done that for a million comics back then.
Right.
Then a year later, that was at Comedy Works in Albany. Then a year later at Bananas in Poughkeepsie was Harlan and Arlene Jameson, and they knew him and they loved him. And they said, "Do you mind bringing this kid up?" I said, "No." They reminded me that I did it a year ago. I said, no problem at all. So within my set again, I brought him back on stage, and this time he was a little bit more polished. So I forgot both of those scenarios, and then he reminded me on the 8th floor of 30 Rock. And then he said to me, he goes, someday I'm going to have my own show, and when I get my show, I'm putting you on the show. And I said, just worry about yourself. I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Then a couple of years after that, I see him at the Toronto Comedy Festival. And he comes running up to me, and I'm talking to, it was Jason Alexander was there, and John Oliver, and there was Schimmel was there, and we were all talking, and he makes a beeline, he comes running over and goes, I'm going to get my own show soon, and I'm going to put you on my show. I said, Jimmy, I'm good. Don't worry about it. Just get your show. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't. Sure enough, he gets his own show, and April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2010, a week and a half before that, he called me and said, I got my own show. I told you, and you're going to go on it. I'm giving you my one of my great producers, and producer called me. We set up the set, and I did the set, and he put me on, and that was it. Yeah. That's
incredible. What a great story, man.
Yeah. And you know what I was talking to Jason Alexander about in Toronto?
What?
I used to go out and audition for, that's the set. That's the set right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So Jason Alexander, I went out for an audition for a Rolled Gold commercial years ago. Remember the pretzels?
Yeah, the pretzels.
They wanted a Jason Alexander type, so I had these little round glasses in my head. So I went in and I improvised. They said, I said, "Where's the sides for the script?" There was no sides, just improvise, and we will we'll let you know. Okay. So I'm improvising, and it was like the girl's name was April. I said, "Hey, where's May and June?" and blah blah blah. And I improvised for about 20 minutes, right? And I left. I never got the commercial. About 9 months later, I'm in a hotel in Detroit, working a club in Michigan. In the middle of the night after the shows, I'm watching TV, and there's Jason Alexander doing the Rolled Gold commercial with everything that I wrote.
Oh, no fucking way.
Commercial. So I called my manager, Jeff Suss. We called the agent. But there it is.
This it? Wow.
I think that's it. So we called them and I said, I wrote that commercial. They said, what proof do you have? I said, I have no proof. If they rolled out the tape. So they pretty much told me at that point, don't say anything. You're going to get blackballed. So I went back at the time, New York had the PCA, the Professional Comedians Association. We tried to unionize. So we were having meetings in the city and Long Island chapter of the PCA. And I brought it up at one of the meetings. I said, guys, listen, I auditioned for a commercial. There was no sides, and I improvised, and they used the whole thing. Well, after that meeting, the PCA, the board of directors, made a rule that when you audition and there was no sides and a comedian had to improvise, that you were allowed to put on a tape recorder. With those, we had those little mini tapes at the time.
Yeah.
And if they said you have to improvise, then we could record it. And if they said we don't want you recording that, you got to walk out of the audition because then because they could use your shit.
That's
and
incredible.
It happened to me. It happened to like a bunch of comics. So then after that, I went on a bunch of commercial auditions, and I would bring a tape, and I never got anything or anything after that. But another thing that happened that no. So what do? Do I get mad at that and carry that? I mean, it's a story to tell on a podcast, but I can't carry stuff like that.
No, I know what you mean. It's too much. And plus, if you're talented enough, you just keep going. You keep working, and you've kept working. I think I told Tom wants to know if he can play the commercial, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah. Play it, Tom.
Well, look who's here. The gym class joke.
That was before fat-free rolled gold pretzels.
Prove it, pretzel boy.
Must be the pretzels. Wanna dance?
For great taste that's fat-free, must be the pretzels.
It wasn't that one?
Must be rolled gold.
I remember that one.
It wasn't that one. This one had, he calls a girl, the girl's name was April. He was in an elevator.
Okay.
And I said, hey, where's May and June? And, so it was a different one than that.
Gotcha. I remember that commercial. I think I remember the one you were talking about too. The elevator one sounds really familiar.
Yeah, he was with a girl in an elevator. And I think I told 20 minutes. So yeah. You never know. I mean,
Joe Starr gave me a good piece of advice when I was younger and I was starting out too, because I think I told you this, but I was doing a joke at Caroline's one night. It was right when Michael Jackson died, and it was it was fresh in everybody's minds and stuff or whatever. And I think it was like a little after everybody had gotten together for his funeral. And it was the same kind of setup everybody kind of had, or whatever, but the punchline was different. And so my joke was basically like, I think I said, people don't have any perspective when celebrities die. I said, especially other celebrities. I said, Magic Johnson went on stage and said, meeting Michael Jackson was one of the best times of his life. And I went, how about beating AIDS at the top of that list? Maybe, and then dunking, and then maybe meeting just a little bit of... So I did that, and about, I don't know, like a few days later, my friend calls me and she's like, turn on Last Comic Standing right now. And I was like, okay, or whatever. And I fucking turn on the TV, and there's a comic doing that exact bit verbatim, word for word, and he got passed.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
And I called Joe Starr at the time. I was 22, maybe something like that, 23, and I was like, I was upset. I was like, what the fuck? And he goes, and I was like, what do I do? And he goes, you know what you do? He goes, you write another joke.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you just keep going. And he's like, and that's it.
People who steal are going to continue to steal. People who create are going to continue to create. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm constantly looking for the next joke, and there's still no. I just did a gig with some young comics, with Mick Thomas and a few other guys. And I walked in there, and I was the granddaddy of everybody. I'm going to be 60,
right?
And I got so high coming off the stage. I only did like 20 minute spot, but it was still, I was still excited. And this other comic comes up to me and goes, "Man, you know how refreshing it is to see a guy that's been doing it so long still excited coming off stage." I said, "Yeah, well, we do something that warrants that.
Yeah,
it's different than any other job. I mean, this is, and with the pandemic and everything, not to be on stage. Before the pandemic, I hadn't gone more than 2 weeks without being on stage, and would have been 39, 40 years.
Yeah, it bums me out, man, because like I love going on the road. I love hotel rooms. I like the whole thing. I like traveling places I've never been. And I don't know if you know Joanne Filan, but I travel with her all the time. We go on the road together, and I would love for you to meet her. She's so funny. She's one of my best friends, and we just love traveling together. When you find somebody, it just clicks. Same music, food.
Yep.
So we have a blast on the road.
Matter of fact, this guy right here, one of the guy, the other side, this guy right here, my friend Hector Rosano was my buddy from Cleveland.
Wow.
Who, this is taken at the Comedy Cafe in Milwaukee. We met in Cleveland, and we were best friends for 20-something years, and he passed away of leukemia. But he was
sorry,
my
man.
road person. That whenever I went to the West, he was with me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'll tell my manager the same stuff, and it's funny too because he'll know now at this point where like if he's booking me a gig somewhere, my next question is going to be, can I bring Joanne? Like, like can I got to bring Joanne? Could she get a hotel? So, but I love, I love doing that kind of stuff. And the fucking pandemic hit and took me off the road. I did some Zoom shows. I did well on them. I don't think it's that much of an adjustment. They're not the same. Yeah. But now the same thing's creeping in where like I've got gigs booked and I'm ready to go back out. And of course, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, what if I can't do it? And it's just like, I just don't.
I was like that. I was like that. And I carried my act with me and I was nervous. But only because, and especially last Friday when I had to do 50 minutes and then Saturday I did 50 minutes at Governor's.
Right.
The way that I brought it back was I called back my lessons from Joanna Bexon to be Meisner in the moment and call on that anger that wrote that bit.
Right.
And be that person. Say those words. You wrote the script. Just find that emotion again. And that's what I did. And I found the emotion about cleaning up the dog shit and my brother-in-law's an asshole and doing the cat thing and the dog and all the stuff. And I found it. And I wound up doing 52 minutes on Friday and almost an hour on Saturday because
holy shit,
within that anger. And then Saturday I was able to bring out the newer stuff too, because there's a certain anger that comes with that. I mean, that's where all good comedy comes from.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that all kind of, because I love being on stage and I like improvising and I like playing with I like having like a, obviously I've got all the stuff that works, but I love incorporating new stuff and playing with the audience and stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, what if I forget how to do that? But hopefully it comes back, hopefully it'll build and come back.
I had a situation where I forgot my act about 4 years ago. Remind me a second. I want to tell you something about Tom Papa too, but
sure.
This has nothing to do with that. But about 4 years ago, I was doing a gig with Richie Byrne, and we were going to doing a YMCA in New Jersey, and it was for my friend Bobby Gonzo, and it was 500 people, big room, big stage, and it was me and Richie Byrne, and Mike Marino happened to be in town, so he said, I want to hang out with you guys that night, so I'll MC it. He's a headliner, but he'll MC it.
I know Mike.
Go on and hang out with us and everything. So we had food. Now, I have a stent put in that I had to put in 2015. So since I had the stent put in, I've been on a statin drug, a beta blocker, small amount of beta blocker, and I was on Plavix for a while, but I'm off that now, and I feel great. But the beta blocker, I found out, is also a psychological drug. It's like a Xanax type of thing.
Oh shit!
So I tried to wean myself off of it cold turkey, and by the time when I did that, I was about 8 days in, and I get on the Mike Marino goes up, does about 10 minutes, brings up Richie Byrne, he does a half hour, then Mike was doing another 10 minutes, then all I had to do was a half hour. That's it. Not even 45, another half hour, and that's the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Joey Kola, I get on stage, and I forget my act totally.
Wow.
For 10 minutes, I'm going, hey, how you doing, everybody? How's it going? And it was all cops and firemen. So at first, they're like, we're doing good. Do your fucking act, asshole, like that.
Right.
And then some people in the audience were like thinking I was having a stroke or I had a transient global amnesia episode.
Holy
transient
shit.
Global amnesia episode.
What the
because
fuck?
I came off the beta blockers too quick. It happens once. It happens to people over 50. And I came off the beta blockers too quick. I came off stage. Like Mike, Tom, what's his name? Danny C came up, handed me water, and said, and now Bobby Gonzo, Richie Byrne, they're going, do the cat bit, do the dog bit, do this bit. And I go, sorry guys, I don't know. Now my act is set up, it's the Long Island Expressway, and it's modular bits where, they're all the bits are modular. All I need is a transition. And to get into my act, the on-ramp, you might say, is either talking about weather, my weight, or the seasons. One of those three things gets me on the highway, and then I could piece together many exits to get to the end of it if I needed, many chunks. I couldn't find any on-ramp onto my act. I forgot it.
Wow.
So I come off stage. Luckily, Mike was there, so he did another half hour, and he headlined it. Me and Richie got in the car. I knew where I was. I wasn't having a stroke. I knew everybody around me. I drove home. And on the way home, I did my act twice for Richie Byrne. Just in that moment, that's what happened. So I go to my doctor. I go to a neurologist. I go to a heart doctor. I go to 1 million doctors. And my GP says it's a common thing. You came off the beta blocker too quickly. You got to stay on that. Even though it's 12.5 milligrams, you got to stay on that until – if you're going to wean off it, but you should never wean off. You should be on it for the rest of your life. It stops you from having a major heart attack. Wow. So he knows. He wouldn't tell me who, but one of his patients plays for either the Mets or the Yankees, and the guy was in the batter's box with like a 2-1 count in the batter's box in a full stadium. Holy shit. In the moment, he forgot how to hit. Called timeout. Had to walk back to the dugout and get replaced for the game because he says, I don't know how to swing this bat. I don't know how to hit. So he wouldn't tell me if it was a Met or a Yankee or who it was or what year it was. But he said one of his patients, that happened to him. So it's called a transient global amnesia episode. So when we went back, I was telling the story to somebody, the lighting director at Rachel Ray, this guy Mitch, and his wife is also a Broadway lighting director. It happened to her a couple of years back because she was giving like a dissertation at one of the Broadway houses during the day on lighting. She goes on stage. She had to speak for an hour. She goes on stage 10 minutes in. She forgets what she's talking about completely.
Wow.
She just walks off stage, and then her husband had to kind of finish it because she didn't know what she was talking about and why.
Jesus.
And this is a Broadway lighting professional.
Right.
But so, yeah, I've been lucky. Transient global amnesia, Bell's palsy. I had labyrinthitis. I got vertigo back in January. Oh, I'm just a ball of laugh.
Jesus Christ. And you're still going though, dude.
Still going, man.
I gotta ask you about this because I'm a Jersey guy, raised in Jersey or whatever, born in Brooklyn, but grew up primarily in New Jersey. You had a picture up you posted. I think you were at it had to be like a governor's ball, maybe like a cops thing. Tom's got it. Can you bring up that photo, Tom? There we go.
Oh, Jon Stewart, yeah.
Where was this at a benefit for police?
That's a plane in the background above us, and that's the Museum of Aviation on Long Island. That was the fireman. Long Island's Firefighters Museum is connected to that.
Okay.
And this is Jon Stewart was very big with the Zadroga bill.
Yes.
Helping the people, the firemen at 9/11 get their money.
Okay.
So I did the stand up there every year, but that year he spoke, so I didn't do stand up. But John and I know each other from Catch a Rising Star back in the 80s.
Wow.
And I was the warm up for his original show. Back where Wendy Williams is now, which is right above where Rachel Ray shoots and where Martha Stewart shot, same studio. He wanted me to be his warm-up guy. So back in 1993 or 92, I was the warm-up for his show. It was a variety show. It wasn't the political show. It was just a variety show. It was on WOR Channel 9 here in New York.
Oh, wow. So it was even before the MTV one?
What's that?
It was even before the MTV one with the Jon Stewart show?
Yeah, yep.
Wow, I didn't know he had another show.
This was like 19, if you look it up, I still got the original T-shirt, and he actually signed it that night. But
wow.
A good buddy. Another guy I know forever. Again, catch on First Avenue in the 80s. Actually, First and 72nd Street. Another guy I was in the trenches with.
Wow.
Good friend. Yeah.
Because you had mentioned Leary too, so you came up with all that. Like Leary was a Boston dude, right? So when you go out there, you would hang out with Lenny Clark and Leary and all those guys.
Well, no, but Leary was down here in New York, so I would whenever I'd go on auditions and he'd be there, him, Mark Maron, and stuff, and then we'd all work stand up in New York. And I remember Maron is one of the people who really got me into politics, because I remember we were doing when the Democratic convention was at the Madison Square Garden back 1980 something. And I remember Mark Maron running into Stand Up New York going, I got tickets. Who's coming with me? I got tickets. Bill Clinton is going to win. Bill Clinton's going to speak. And blah, blah, blah. Who's coming? I said, Mark, I'm not. I got sets to do. I'm not doing that. But I remember him getting real excited. And I was like, why is he getting so excited about anything political? And I remember Susie Essman was there that night, and because she lived right across the street, and her and I were talking about how we're not really political comics, but where we try to help people politically and do the right thing when we can. That's all.
Right.
So, but Leary used to do that. I had I would stand up in New York. I was just telling Chris Monty how I met Robin Williams. I was on stage at Stand Up New York, and
oh shit.
I get handed a note. Robin Williams is coming on next, so wrap it up. So I finished my set. The MC comes back on, ladies and gentlemen, Robin Williams, and he killed. He did about 40 minutes of maniac Robin Williams, and I waited for him afterwards. It was winter, and he had a long coat on and a red beret, and he said goodbye to Carrie Hoffman was there, and who used to own the club, and a couple comics were hanging out, and we went out to the street, and I said, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to catch a cab. He goes, which way are you going? I want to walk down to Amsterdam. So I said, you mind if I walk with you? He said, no. So it was just me and him walking on 78th Street from the club is near Broadway, but we walked down to Amsterdam Avenue. And as we were talking, I said, it's Robin Williams. And he just had finished being the genie in Aladdin, which was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the best.
I got to tell you, I'm a big Disney fan, and you as the genie and Aladdin was a great. My kids love it. It's phenomenal. Blah. And I just sung him all these praises, and he said to me, "Yeah, that's fucking Disney, man." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "They paid me in a painting." They paid you in a painting. Because they gave me a painting. I got cash and I got a deal, but in my deal was a painting and some kind of Picasso thing and everything. I don't know what my agent was thinking about. So I was like, "What?" A painting. He kept going on about a painting that they gave him a painting.
Oh my God!
Apparently, the painting was like a Picasso. It was worth like a lot of money, and I think he sold it later on, and he made like $20 million off the painting or whatever.
Holy shit!
He just kept on going on about him being paid in a painting. So I was like, whatever they paid you, man, I guess it wasn't enough because I just thought you were great in the role, So
yeah,
that was my Robin Williams moment too. I mean,
holy shit,
good to meet him too. That's the one thing about doing stand up in New York. If you're out there enough and you're writing and you're funny and you're banging around enough clubs, you're gonna meet big stars and people that aren't big stars, but those are the ones who are the funniest.
Yeah, I feel like fuck. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's 6 degrees of Joey Kola. Because there's,
my funniest friends aren't even famous at all. Like a lot.
Who's your crew? Who's your guys?
Well, Joe Starr, I love.
Of
Chris
course.
Monty, I love Tim Gage. He makes me laugh hard. Tim Gage is the most quoted comedian in my house. When he does the eyebrows, bushy.
Yeah.
Tim Gage is Colin Quinn's cousin,
Yes, and I met him with you in Long Island at the one of the first times I was at the at Governor's.
Yeah, and So we've seen so much. I mean, I got these laugh lines here because I've laughed so much in my life. It's so much, People say, "What's the funniest thing you ever?" I mean, a good friend of mine, Peter Sasso, has a joke. He says. He's a great comic, and the funniest thing I ever heard him say was, "What's the difference between Abu Dhabi and Dubai?" Well, in Dubai, they don't like the Flintstones, but the Abu Dhabi do. Peter Sasso is great, and you don't know who he is, but he's a great comic. I mean, well, years ago, people didn't know who Daryl Hammond was. Daryl Hammond and Billy Gardell were they're from Orlando originally, and I was doing a club down in Orlando. I forget the name of it. Not Side Splitters. That's Tampa.
Snappers?
No, it was in Orlando, and there was another sister club in New Smyrna Beach. I forget the name of the club. The San Felipe brothers had it. Anyway, I'm working there, and it turns out, and Billy Gardell and Daryl Hammond were good friends. And Daryl used to do all these voices. You know, he does a lot of character voices. So they took me to the radio station. They both worked at the radio station, and later on in their careers, I actually helped them come to New York. Billy and Daryl Hammond. But Daryl Hammond used to do a bit. He opened up for me at the Comedy Cafe in Milwaukee, and we had to take a van to the radio station, and we were sitting in the back of the van, and there was an old penthouse forum. So he was reading the stories, but he was doing it as Bugs Bunny. And to this day, you're a Bugs Bunny fan.
Yeah.
To this day, the funniest thing I've ever heard is Daryl Hammond. You know, he would do them, and they would all end with the sentence, "My rock hard cock." So he'd go. So as Bugs Bunny, now this is Daryl Hammond going, as Bugs Bunny going, "Dear Penthouse, while sitting at a baseball game, my girlfriend got very horny by watching the first baseman. Before you know it, we were in the men's room, and she was bopping up and down on my rock hard cock." and then he would make up like 12 of them, and one was funnier than the next. And only did it on stage that night once at the Comedy Cafe in Milwaukee. Now I've seen him a couple of times since then, and I go, "Daryl, you got to do the bit, man. You got no, that was for you. That's that one thing." It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Bugs Bunny reading Penthouse Forum.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. And I love that Billy Gardell did that. I saw a video. I think maybe you posted it or somebody did. But he's very sweet, man. He pointed to you when you were on the when he was on Rachel Ray show or whatever.
Yeah,
I feel like
he said some nice things about me when I was warming up the show. Yeah,
he seems like a really cool dude too.
Kevin James did that also. It's good when people remember where you come from, you know.
Yeah,
and it's good when
you were hilarious when you were doing the corn on the cob, dude. I mean, that was fun.
Oh,
that whole thing was fucking hysterical.
Yeah. I got that picture up here somewhere.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, hold on. Hold on. This is it's stuck to the wall. Glue. Wow.
That's great.
It's up.
Was it Bonkers Comedy Club or Sack Comedy Club?
There I am.
Oh, nice. That is fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
I think about that every time I'm eating corn. 4
years of corn I ate during that thing. Yeah.
It
was Bonkers. Bonkers is what it was.
Okay.
Bonkers Comedy Club down there. Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, Billy's also a good friend. Matter of fact, I usually watch his show tonight, and then after the show, I text him, and we talk about the show a little bit. But I told him, don't expect it this week because I'm on John Poveromo's podcast. He says, "That's okay. Make sure you text me right afterwards, though."
Oh, nice.
We're still good friends. Yeah, he's a good guy. Really
That's sweet.
Funny, super funny too. You know.
Yeah, no, he's hilarious, man. He's another one of those guys that's just completely natural. Like everything he said, like Mike and Molly was great.
He came to Westbury Music Fair, and he had an old buddy of ours, Ben Creed, open up for him. And the next day, he says, "What are you doing tomorrow morning?" I said, "Well, nothing. What are you saying?" A hotel not far from your house. He goes, "Let's go to breakfast at the diner." So we saw his show at Westbury Music Fair. Next day, my wife and I picked him up. We all went to breakfast at the diner, and then he drove upstate to do another casino, and then went back to L.A.
Wow!
But just a great salt of the earth, funny guy too.
Yeah. It's something in the New York water, I think, because it's all like
New
the
Jersey.
same.
There's a lot of great comics in New Jersey. Tom Papa. Now you're gonna have Tom Papa on, right?
Yes, I'm having him on Thursday.
I warmed up his show, Marriage Ref, that was produced by Seinfeld.
Oh, shit.
And Tom is a big fan of me doing the cat noise.
I
go,
nice.
yo. Is there any way we can tape this for him and show it to him?
I will clip exactly this and show it to Tom.
I'm going to do it right here. Ready? Tom, right. I know you love the cat noise, and this is for you, buddy. Yo. Hebel.
Amazing.
A clip for him, and
I
I
will.
love Tom Papa. Just a great human being.
I met him once at the Comedy Store in LA when I moved out to LA. Super nice guy, but it was so I don't even know if he did this on purpose, and I'm gonna tell him when he's on the show.
Right.
But he comes I'm coming down from the belly room and he's walking down the main hallway and Bill Burr is on the main stage. So now we're at the doors and I'm sitting at the high top table and he's standing and he's watching him and I'm watching him. And then he just goes to me, I just got these glasses. What do you think? And he turns and looks at me and we're basically wearing the same it's the same ones that you and I have on. And I just went, hate him. And he just went, he laughed and he just went, and then turned around and kept watching Burr. And I was like, what the fuck? It was so weird, but he's so great.
I never went on at the Comedy Store. I got to go backstage with Dom Herrera.
I love Dom.
Me backstage. Well, when people ask me who are your biggest influences in comedy, I say 3 Richies and a Dom. I say Richie Minervini, the owner of the East Side Comedy Club, is one of my good friends and one of my mentors. Rich Jenny, of course.
Yeah.
He took me under his wing. And Richard Pryor and Dom Herrera, And then there's others. There's Rob Bartlett, Bobby Collins. And, many, good comics are influenced by many other comics,
I'm stunned that I got to work with I just feel really lucky that I know, I don't know. I have no idea why or how or whatever, but I just liked that when I was coming up, I guess I was just in the right places at the right time because I did get to meet all of you when I was younger and got to hang out with you. And you guys were all super nice to me. I know other people have these horror stories.
You also had the goods too,
Thanks,
and you showed up with a brain in your head and respect and you were like Star came up to me, you gotta watch this kid work. He's got it. He's got the goods. So we watched you work and you were very, very funny on stage as you are now. And you've got the intelligence and the balls to back it up too, man. So you got everything it takes to get from A to B, and then we'll see where the journey takes you. Man.
Thanks, man.
I got everything I've ever wanted, and I don't really have any fame. So I got more than I've ever wanted, to be honest with you. All I wanted to be was a good husband and father. And I'm still with my wife after all these years, 41 years. And my kids are, I still got my kids are older now, but I've gotten everything I ever wanted. I had a boat for a little while. Rosie gave me a boat in the last episode of the show when she gave me the award. She gave me the boat on the show.
Yeah. How did that even come about that she gave you? Did you want the boat? Did you hint that you wanted a boat, or was Rosie just like, you get a boat?
It's the greatest story. There was rest his soul, a great cameraman named Kenny Decker.
Okay.
I hope that his wife Michelle is watching this. She does the prompter for Colbert and John Oliver. She's a prompter girl, but Kenny Decker was one of the cameramen on Rosie, and he later became a cameraman on Wendy and a million other shows. One of the greatest New York camera people around. So the show was winding down. We were coming into the later years of the end of the Rosie O'Donnell show, and she wanted to do something for me and Donna Richards. Donna Richards is the wardrobe lady who does Saturday Night Live now, but she was Rosie's personal wardrobe person. And a lot of the producers got the statue, got this statue, but we didn't. We got plaques. We got like a plaque that said Emmy, the Emmy Award, television sciences or whatever, but it was like a plaque. So piece of paper. Yeah. So the last show, Nathan Lane was on the show, and I think I forget who else was on the show, but so the last show we do a segment, she calls us over.
Mm-hmm.
And basically says, "What do you guys? Did you guys get Emmy Awards?" No, but she gives us. She had just won for best show and best host. She gives me best show. She gives Donna Richard best host, and she goes, "And I know you've always wanted a boat, so here's a boat." It was a Proline center console, 19-foot, with a T-top, and she gave Donna Richards a car, a Chrysler car. Now the way that it came about was about a month or two before the show ended. Rosie knew that Kenny Decker and I were good friends and that we would go to the boat show at Javits Center.
Mm-hmm.
So Rosie told Kenny, find out what Joey really, get in his head and find out what he wants. If he hit the lottery, what would he buy?
Right.
So I said, well, Kenny's a sailboat guy. And I said I would get a boat. I'd like a little motorboat because I grew up in the Great South Bay in Long Island, clamming and crabbing and fishing and stuff like that.
Right.
So I said, well, I'd get a small, get a center console like a Pro Line or whatever. He goes, let's go to the boat show and go look at the boats. So we did it one day after the shows. Him and I went to the Javits Center and look at the boats. So he goes, just for shits and giggles, show me the exact boat that you would get if you had the choice. So I brought him right over to Pro Line, and I said, well, this would be perfect for the Bay. I mean, I could take my wife and kids on this boat and everything, but it's a lot of money. It's $27,000, so that's not happening. I'm still driving a minivan, and all the money I ever made went into my family. I never bought myself anything. I'm here to serve. So he found that out and told Rosie, and everybody watched it live unfold. And my friend of mine, John Cifelli, the first phone call was from him, who owned a marina out in Suffolk on Long Island, and said, I just saw what happened, and I got your slip waiting for you.
Oh, my God. That's incredible.
I took that boat when it was ready. I added some of my own money to it, made it a little bit bigger, and added a couple things to it. And it was a lifetime, a childhood dream to have a boat. And I used to, when I was a kid, my parents used to take me and my brother to the Bayshore Marina, and right on the corner of the dock where the ferries go by is where we used to fish. And my mother would eat everything that we took out of that water. I just put garlic and oil with it, and she'd eat it. And we always fished off the dock. We never could afford a boat or anything really, So when I got that boat, I took it right to that spot, but in the water this time, not on the dock. I shut the motor off, and I went like this, and I said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
And that was a gift.
That's incredible, man. I never knew that story. That's actually incredible.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes of this comic.
Yeah, man. I loved that show, man. And the fact that you were a part of it. I mean, it was when I was a kid, Rosie always reminded me of like, because I grew up in Brooklyn. My whole family's from Brooklyn. Right. My dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family. It's just we were in Borough Park, 40th Street. That's where my whole family's from.
Oh, okay.
40th, 43rd, 46th. Right. And so the avenue, the whole. I mean, that's all we had. The snow, everything, right?
Yeah.
But like watching Rosie when she was on TV, it's like I was watching one of my cousins, my aunts. No matter what it was, she just exuded that kind of thing. When I was a kid, I was in, no kid likes school, but I used to play, like I was sick sometimes to stay at home with my mom sometimes, whatever. And when I would do that, she would let me watch the Rosie O'Donnell show, and she and I would watch it together. And it was just like hanging out with your family, because we had moved, so I wasn't in Brooklyn anymore. Yeah. But my mom, we were in Arizona, I think, at the time when the Rosie O'Donnell show was on.
The greatest show. I'll tell you, Rosie is an unbelievable, two people that I worked for. Now, Rachel Ray is a phenomenally generous human being, doing for people, doing for animals, doing for everything. She's there to serve. She's there to help. And she puts her money where her mouth is. Believe me, she does. And Rosie was the same way. And I'm going to tell you a story about Rosie O'Donnell that's going to make the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Wow.
I come in one morning to 30 Rock, and I get there early. I get there 7:30 for I had an 8:15 meeting or whatever, but I get there at 7:30, and Rosie got there early also. We were the only two there, and I see her in the hallway. And she was toute shangada. She was, she was a mess.
Right.
Looked like
I haven't heard that in years, by the way.
She was. She looked like she hadn't slept and everything. So I go up to her and I go, "Hey, Big Shot, were you out all night last night with all your friends at Joe Allen? Were your Broadway friends at Joe Allen's?" And she said to me, "No, I couldn't sleep last night, so I went to Sloan and wrote checks."
Wow.
Holy shit. I couldn't sleep last night, so I went to Sloan and wrote checks. Now, what she would do is she'd take her checkbook, she'd go to the waiting room where families were distraught, with family members dying of cancer, little kids, chemo, the whole thing, and she'd write checks, not $12, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000.
Wow.
There was a couple comedian friends of ours whose wives had breast cancer. Joey, I heard so and so's wife's got breast cancer. Here's a check for 10,000. Mail it.
Wow.
People don't know that
Right.
about her. That's what
No.
she did. She'd stay up all night, go into Sloan Kettering incognito with a checkbook and write checks. That's Rosie
incredible.
O'Donnell. Yeah, that's Rosie O'Donnell. And
Yeah.
the show reflected it. You know, she was the first one to say, hey, look under your seats, there's something there. She's the first one to say, here's ring dings under your seat, here's milk. She's put the RoboCam. She wanted Broadway shows in that very small studio, 8G. And we had Titanic, a Broadway play. 57 people from that show were on that little tiny stage. So she's the one who invented a giant curtain to go around the whole thing to make it Broadway-esque. And she's the one who made sure we had a RoboCam on a track on top of the studio to shoot it all. She did all of that. She is an amazing human being, and she's an artist. She paints well. She gives her life to her kids. She's codependent like I am, so she takes on people's problems and tries to see them through to fruition when she's helping somebody. But I'm involved in 34 different charities now, and one of the reasons why I'm so involved in charities is because I learned from Rosie O'Donnell how to give back and be involved. I mean, from Gilda's Club to Guardian Brain Foundation, Sharon Rothberg, Comedy Cures. I can go on and on. There's about 34 of them now, and Rachel Ray now. I've been with her for 11 years, and she's the same way.
Wow.
She's the same way. And
see, you attract the same kind of people, though. That's the real truth behind all that stuff. Is that you know, because of who you are, that's the kind of people you attract that you're around, that you wind up working with.
Yeah, it's funny how that works sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's going back to what you were saying earlier. If you be nice and you're kind to people or whatever, you know, you get it. You kind of get it back too.
We're only here for a half hour, man. Get in, do the right thing, get out.
Yeah, man.
Something's coming at you. A bus, a bullet, something, you know?
Yep.
I used to do a bit about that in my act. I used to say, how'd you people used to compare how they died. How'd you die? Oh, cancer, heart attack. How'd you die? You're not going to believe this. OJ jumped out of a bush and stabbed my ass. Winner.
I've never heard that one before. That one's fucking great. That's a great bit, man. If you don't, you got to bring that back.
Well, I don't even know if people know who OJ is anymore.
No, but you could do that with fucking, oh my God. There's so many replacements for that. I'll think of some good ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking great, man. I want to, so we've been talking for
how long? You froze up on me.
A little over 2 hours. Oh no. Am I back?
Now you're back. I actually thought I lost you, but yeah.
You're not moving, but you.
Am I gone?
I could hear you, but you're moving the frame by frame.
Okay. You're back. Yeah, he just came back. He's good.
There he is. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, I'm good. Okay. All right. Well, that was not bad timing though. We did it for 2 hours without my internet fucking up. I want to ask you before I have to let you go, because I've been asking everybody this kind of thing, this one thing. Actually, no, I'm going to ask you two things because I'm doing one. One, if you've got, what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself, if you could, your younger self, if you could, right now?
Slow down.
Okay.
I was always shot out of a cannon moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the only reason why it really worked out for me the other day is because I slowed my act down.
Wow.
Slow down and, like we were saying before, savor not only that cup of coffee or that smell of rose, but savor your act as you're saying it to watch that laugh unfold.
That's a good advice.
That and if comics, you got to get a car. You're a comic, have a car. I'm so
dude. That saved my ass in the beginning because every other comic I knew had a DUI.
Oh, really?
And I didn't. When I say there were comics that just couldn't drive because they were, whatever. And I had a brand. When I started, I worked at a bank full time, and I was making stupid money. Because it was stupid money, by the way, because I'm a fucking moron when it comes to math and finances. So I don't know how I got that job in the first place. Like, it was people literally, like, I had a business card that said, like, let me help you with your finances, and people would come in and be like, I need help with my money market account, and I'd be like, me too. Do you know anybody? Like, I have no idea. But yeah, it was. But I bought a new car, and so that was it, man. I took that. I beat the hell out of that thing. I took it with me everywhere.
Yeah. I had to do an audition in Cleveland one time. I drove from Long Island to Cleveland. I didn't have money to stay at a hotel, so I parked in a cornfield and slept in a cornfield.
Wow!
Oh my God! Wait, I love this.
Centra.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I had a so this is a dumb young person comedian mistake, right? So I'm doing gigs in Boston, and I don't remember what the deal was, but they were like, get a hotel and we'll cover it. And I'm like, great, whatever it was, right? It was like 4 or 5 gigs I had to do that weekend in Boston. And I'm like, okay, great. And I fucking, like a moron, I don't know why I did this. I waited. I didn't do it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So I never booked and I was like, I'll just do it when I get into the city.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. It's not a big deal. Well, it was fucking college weekend, and people were graduating. Yeah. And I was calling hotels trying to get a fucking room. And they were like, every hotel within a fucking 50 miles is gone, dude. Yeah. Like, you were not. And I tried driving or whatever. Couldn't find one. So I slept in my car in the parking lot of a hotel. And then I woke up the next morning and had continental breakfast because no one.
Yeah, no one's checking. They don't care.
Yeah, no one's checking. And I literally, like, I was just like, fuck it. I got up, got dressed. And if you walk in anywhere with authority, they don't fucking question you.
No, I mean, I've done a lot of road. I've done every state in this country, Canada, I've done England and everything. And if you're a good road comic, you learn to survive no matter what.
Yep.
The car is just part of it. I always say, you take a good road comic, you put him in the desert naked in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. That night they'll have clothes on their back, food in their belly, money. They'll have a show to do, and they'll probably be getting laid.
That's so great. That's so fucking. I need that. I'm gonna make that a thing, and I'm gonna hang it on a plaque on a wall because I need that.
To hang with nothing but road comics. John Fox was one of the best road comics ever. Oh. I have John Fox was an animal. I worked with him in Jersey, and I worked with Kinnison and all those guys, Carl LeBeau and all those guys a lot. But
Carl,
Fox,
holy shit!
I came in. Yeah, rest his soul.
What? Oh my God, dude,
but that was a good friend. But I remember the story of John Fox. I came into the hotel, the condo in Cleveland, mm-hmm. And John Fox is just leaving, and I'm coming in. Hey, John, how you doing? We sat and we talked for a little while, and then he left, and then I shut the door. I'm going back to my room, and then I hear knocking on the door, and I open up the door, and he goes, "Don't eat the mayonnaise. I came in it." And that's what he would do. He would jerk off into the mayonnaise.
Oh my God!
I go, John, I'm not eating anything from this condo anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I work with that same room. I worked with these two guys, Mac and Zach. It was these two black guys. One guy was 550 pounds. The other guy was 350 pounds.
Holy shit!
And the way they came on the stage was like, the little guy came, you'd hear boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba. And the little guy would get on stage with these flashlights like he's bringing in a plane. And the second guy would come in who was even bigger than him, and they'd be on stage together. Big, huge guys. So I get to the same room, the next time I was there, after John Fox, that episode, the next time, it was 3 months, 4 months later, 6 months, whatever the rotation was. And Mac and Zach are in there. We have a layover. So I'm staying in one room, and they're in the living room, and they got a portable fryer plugged into the wall, and they're frying chicken in the living room, and they're letting the grease drip out on the towels from the condo.
Oh my God!
So I sat there in the living room with Mac and Zach, these two huge guys, eating the best fried chicken that I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
That they're frying up in the living room on this little plug-in fryer.
Wow.
And now I'm realizing why when I started doing stand-up, they wouldn't let us have steaks. They didn't let us stay in nice hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Now it's all becoming clear to me.
Yeah, a lot of stuff went on, man. A lot of stuff.
That's fucking great, though.
Yeah.
I did. That was another thing, too. Like, the amount of confidence that a comic gets from doing the road in real life, applied in real life, is unnatural. Like, it should be outlawed. Yeah. Because, like, I remember my friends, this isn't even a comedy gig, but my friends and I had stayed in a hotel somewhere, and we had woken up a little after, like, maybe it wasn't even direct, a little after the continental breakfast ended, right? Yeah. But I knew I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to, like, finagle some shit, right? And normally 9 times out of 10, I get exactly what I want. But there was this fucking dick behind the counter who was like, no, you missed it. You fucking missed it. And he was being an asshole about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, gotta wake up earlier, man. You want that work, you gotta wake up. And I hate anybody telling me what to. So I was like, this motherfucker. Yeah. So he turns around and I walk into the direction where the kitchen is. It's unlocked. I open it, go into the back of the kitchen. I grab bowls, cereal, milk, and a thing or whatever. And I walk past him and I'm like, it's fine. I got it, man. Don't worry about it. And I just got all this shit. And they're just like, what the fuck? I was like, fuck you. Like, all this crap. And I remember coming down later and bringing all the bowls and shit. Like, don't fucking tell me. I can't. I love that. That's all from the road.
Yeah, where when, like we were talking about before, comedians, when they get together, we have a certain commonality about us, so we share a lot. But when we're out on the road and we're doing these gigs, and sometimes you're not with your friends, you're with new comics that you don't know, or so a lot of times we're told to do gigs by yourself. You know, I want one comedian, and that's where being a rogue fills out the description of who we are, who we really are. We're rogues. Right. Like in Jaws, a great white shark is a rogue. It swims alone, and so when Richard Dreyfuss describes it, and that's what we are. We're like great white sharks. We're rogues. We swim into a situation. We assess it. How am I going to win this over? A la taking the amber-colored Budweiser, pouring it out, filling it with water, and drinking it to make them think you fit in with them, type of thing.
Yep.
And it's a survival technique. So we master many survival techniques, whether it's sleeping in a car or surviving on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I always feel like, especially in the beginning when you're on stage, when I was doing stand-up or whatever, it felt like when I would win over the teacher in school if I had forgotten to do the assignment, because if I was charming and if I was funny, it didn't fuck it. I just got away with whatever. They didn't care at that point. He was like, well, he's making the class laugh and he's he's doing whatever. I don't know what it is, but I love that.
It's a personality job. We make money with our personalities. You know? And again, if we use all our tools in our arsenal, if you could use your hands and your head and and different physicality, things about your physical being. I mean, that's good too. But it's a personality job. We make money with our personalities.
Yeah. I've never been fired from a job. I've been hated at the job by like my employer, like by like a boss or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, I mean, I've had like over like 20 regular part-time days, whatever. I did clothing, I did sales, I worked at concession stands, I worked at a beach, whatever. 9 times out of 10, I survived at those jobs because of my personality. That's it. Somebody important liked me.
That's right. And that's what matters. I made the most money I ever made by being asked not to perform.
What was this?
It was remember a couple of years ago when John Legend did Jesus Christ Superstar? Yeah. He did it in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Academy of Music.
Okay.
I think that's where it was, or it was a big the Army it was a big old army building they shot it at. It was like a Broadway play.
Yeah.
And they had like 2,000 people in the audience, so they decided they needed a warm-up guy.
Right.
So I said, I want, it's a big deal. It's a big audience and there's a lot going on and I'm going to be working hard. So, I want 3,000 a show and I need 1,000 in transportation to get from Long Island to to Brooklyn back and forth with car service and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, okay, the show is on Sunday night. It was on Easter about 3-4 years ago. So we're going to do a rehearsal on Friday. So come in on Friday and we'll do a rehearsal and we'll pay you. We won't pay you for that, but we'll pay you for Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So I go in, do the rehearsal, and they decide that it's more like a Broadway show, which Broadway shows don't have warm-up guys.
Right.
They don't really need a warm-up guy. So I'm doing they had a little bit of an audience and they only had like 300 or 400 people, but this thing seated 2,000. So I did what I do. And they said, you know what? You were great, but we don't really need you tonight. So you can just go home. The producer who hired me called me the next morning and said, we're not going to need you Saturday. We're doing a full rehearsal with full audience, but we're not going to need you. We'll pay you.
Wow.
Yes, we might need you Sunday for the live show. I said, okay. Sure enough, they called me Saturday night. We're not going to need you for the live show. Everything went well Saturday. And the offices of that play happen to be in the same building where we shot Rachel Ray. I show up that Tuesday morning. The producer is there. She hands me a check for $7,000.
Wow.
And I never really worked.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah. I just did a little bit of warm up at the first rehearsal. That was it. But $7,000 was a nice thing for that weekend.
Good gig.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So it was fun.
Can I get the same thing?
Of course. Well, you look like Christ, so.
Oh my! I don't know how this managed to turn out like that, but yeah, that is the sad truth. I either look like Jesus or the dude that gave Jenny AIDS in Forrest Gump. It's a real coin toss.
Wow, wouldn't have thought of that guy, but
it's my go-to. It's fun.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh man, I got one more question for you because I like to know this kind of thing. I feel like comedians' music, there's a lot going on there, like relation wise or whatever. What is there a favorite? What album or song got you through when you were on the road, especially for road comics? Is there something that you listened to that got you pumped up, or just that kept you going on the road?
Well, I used to come on. I'm a big blues fan, so I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I used to use him a lot as intro music. But when I was on the road and I heard "Faithfully" by Journey.
Journey, yes.
Make Me Miss My Wife and "Wheel in the Sky." There, I love Journey.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Pink Floyd guy, so Comfortably Numb and all that.
Yeah.
I'm a big Stones guy. Not too much with the Beatles. I mean, everybody loves the Beatles. The Beatles, I like the Beatles, but not really. But songs that got me through on the road. It all changed. It changes from song to song. Now, right now, my head is at. There's a band called Buckethead, and there's a song that they do called "A Light in the Fog," and it's just an instrumental. There's no music. There's no words to it.
Right.
But Buckethead is the band. It's called "A Light in the Fog."
Okay, I'm
and
gonna write that down.
This tune sits in my head now. It's a bluesy thing, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful song to like watch a sunset to, or just to inspire. And it's a lot of strong leads in it. But I love Joe Bonamassa. "Down Around My Place" is another great song. So it's many. Foley. What's the guy? I forget his name now. Not Mick Foley.
No, not Mick Foley.
The other guy. They just did a movie about him. I forget what it is now. I was on him for a little while.
They just did a movie about him? Wait, what the hell is
that? What's his name? This guy. Oh, I forget his name. Clay Pigeon is one of the main songs that he does.
Clay Pigeon?
Was it?
Blaze Foley?
Blaze Foley, yeah. Blaze Foley has a song. It's the last song on that album. He was killed a while ago. They did what's his name? Hawkins.
Stephen Hawkins?
No, Jesus Christ, my memory is shot. They just did a movie about his life, Blaze Foley.
Okay.
And the song is called "If I Can Only Fly," and if you listen to that song, it's just cut to the bone emotion.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to listen to that song. "If I Can Only Fly" by
I Can Only Fly.
Foley. And you can put that song to people you'd like to be with, you wish were with you, people that have passed, and you wish, it's just another song that like hits hard. I never go for like a lighthearted song. I always everything that I listen to cuts to the heart.
Yep, it's funny, man. We were just talking about that kind of stuff. Who the hell were we talking about that with? About music? Was it one of the bands we had on?
I believe so. With
I swear to God, they said the same thing, Joey. It was something we were all saying the same thing. Where it's like, I like songs that have a good lyric, that are meatier, that means shit, that like the pop stuff. I mean, I get it. I like a good pop song the same way I like a good McDonald's burger. Sometimes I don't want the real thing. I just want some junk. But
that's exactly right. I do the same thing. I had a quarter pounder with cheese the other day.
Yeah, buddy. Oh
You're
my
gonna
God.
have the guy from Styx on. Oh my God, that was my band. Look at the Grand Illusion. Come on, Grand Illusion and Renegade and all of those.
Yeah,
my favorite. Oh my God. Yeah, we had
that. You said Journey. You named 2 Journey songs, man. I fucking love Journey.
When I was doing the Rosie O'Donnell show, you never knew who was going to be in that Rosie audience because everybody loved the Rosie show so much. Sam Champion would always be there, and Soledad O'Brien would be there, and the guy from Styx, Dennis DeYoung, was in the audience one time. And Rosie looks at me and goes, "Joey, is that Dennis DeYoung in the audience?" And I go, "I don't know. Are you Dennis DeYoung?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm Dennis DeYoung." Oh my God! But I got a great story. One time, I'm warming up the Rosie O'Donnell show, and there's a man in the audience, an older man, and he had gray hair, and it was pulled back, and he had glasses. I think he had a goatee or a little bit of a beard, and he was by himself. And the NBC pages brought him in, and he was by himself. And, not that I'm bragging at all, but I would get hit on a lot at the show by men and women. I have a couple stalkers throughout the country, and I can tell you that I have stalker stories that'll just blow your mind. There's a guy that wants to eat raw deer meat with me. To this day, I really don't go back.
I think he just described the plot to Deer Hunter.
Oh my God! But anyway, this guy is in the audience, and the whole show, and he's an older man, and the whole show is kind of calling me over and going, "Hey, I like the way you did that. That's a funny joke. I like your energy and this and that." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. Hey, thanks." And but I got 177 people in the audience. I'm kind of shooting koosh balls at them, and we're giving stuff away. I'm running around like a maniac. I got John McDean and McDLTs, and they're playing Mustang Sally. Sally. We're going crazy, and I'm trying to keep all these plates spinning. I don't really have time to spend with one old guy in the audience.
Right.
So after the show, Rosie only signed autographs for the little kids. So the adults kind of left, and the parents of the little kids stayed. And I coordinated Rosie signing the autographs, and then we did the studio. We usually did one show live at 10 o'clock, and on a Thursday we did a 10 and a 2. I forget which one he was at. Maybe he was at the live show. So the guy left, right? And so one of the NBC pages said, "Listen, the guy wants to send you something." So I said, "Well, what'd you do?" She said, "Well, I said, just send it here to 30 Rock and attention Joey Kola, and we'll get it to you." I said, "Okay, fine." So I figured, I don't know, the guy might have had a crush on me or whatever. I don't know. Because that happened in those days.
Right.
Anyway, I get the thing about a month later. It's a bottle of Crown Royal and 2 glasses and a letter from the guy. "Really enjoyed you. You inspired the audience, blah, blah, blah. Stan Lee." So now I am not a comic book guy, and I don't know who this guy is.
Right.
So now I take the Crown Royal, put it in my liquor cabinet. I put the glasses in there, and I just take the card, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, Stan Lee. I guess he's hitting on me, but I said to my wife, "Do you know who this guy is?" "I don't know who he is." So I threw the letter out.
Oh no.
About 4 years later, I find out Stan Lee is Stan Lee. I see him. I see it because all the comic stuff came back. So I see a picture of him and I go, holy shit. I go to my wife. I go, that's the guy that was hitting on me, but he wasn't really hitting on me. So I said, I thought he was hitting on me, but he wasn't. He was just giving me a compliment.
Yeah.
So then I saved a lot of that stuff. I got the Bob Ross stuff. I got autographs from this person, that person, baseball, this and that, Joan Rivers and Howie Mandel and Howard Stern. I did Howard Stern's birthday party. I warmed that up, and he sent me a letter. I got all that stuff. So I go up in my attic during the COVID, and I'm like, oh man, I'm wondering did I save the Stan Lee thing? Did I not? I searched every inch of the house, and I think I got rid of it.
Oh my God!
But it was Stan Lee. Yeah.
That's nuts, man. Yeah. That's a fucking great story.
Do you know who was my first thought when you said hair like slicked, like pushed all the way back? Like I was like, was it Stan Lee? And when you said the goatee, I'm like, oh, I guess not. Probably not Stan Lee.
Yeah, he had a little bit of facial hair, but his hair was white and like John's hair is. That was almost that long. But at that point, though, remember, we did the show from 96 to 2002. Yeah. So it was pre a lot of the superhero stuff happening.
Yeah. There was no superhero movies like that in the 90s.
It was barely. I think it was. What was it? Was it an Affleck Batman? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was. God. Yeah, it was the Batman shit. I actually think Marvel was going through a bankruptcy if it was early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Before the
so that's fucking wild, dude.
So he wasn't because later in his life he would have had bodyguards around him because he became that big, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean that was sad. His life. I think the last year or so of his life was not that great for he had a lot of bad people around him at the time, which is just fucking breaks my heart, dude. He was a great, just a really cool dude.
Yeah, it was a fun audience. We one time, what's his name came out? Who's the singer? Hasselhoff, big in Germany. So he comes out and he's going to make an entrance. Rosie goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, David Hasselhoff." So he's got his little DVDs that are like this square little cardboard thing, and the points of plastic. I mean, the cardboards are sharp. He starts flinging them like frisbees into the audience, and one gets a lady, boom, right in the eye. So lawsuit there.
Wow.
We had this lady from Chicago, she was from California.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little bit nuts, and she saw that there was a gorilla in the Chicago Zoo that a kid fell into the gorilla cage, and the gorilla took the kid and held the baby, and that woman deduced in her own crazy mind that all gorillas are angels. So she took white sweatshirts and a Sharpie marker and hand drew gorillas with angel wings. And she made one for me, John McDaniel, and Rosie. Wow. And she was trying to make a point of doing it during a live show. So I said, we got to wait till the end. You'll be able to give me mine, give it to John, and at the end, you'll give it to Rosie. We sat her in the back because we thought she was a little EDP, you know. Sure enough, at the end of the show, Rosie says, "See you next time. Goodbye, everybody." The camera's twirling around the studio. We shoot the audience, and she goes, "Gorillas are angels!" And she runs down from the back. Security doesn't see it, so I'm the only thing between her and Rosie as we're bumping out to a commercial to the end of the show. So I just throw her like a cross body block, and if you watch that show, the camera catches me and her rolling around on the floor. And she smelled. She drove cross country in a station wagon, and this is how crazy she was. She parked it in front of 30 Rock on 6th Avenue. Just left it there. Just left the car there.
Oh my God!
Craziness, man. Just crazy.
Oh, that's fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
We need a movie about that woman. Was it Jane Goodall?
That could have been.
And it turns out
I wrote a sitcom called The Warm Up Guy, and I got it. We got it. We got it copywritten. It's about my life as a warm up guy and all the stuff that happens backstage, from the tiger before it comes out biting somebody, and who got hit in the head with a camera, and all the stuff that goes on, and all the shows.
Right.
I've warmed up about 16, 18 different shows over the 28 years that I've been doing warm up.
Wow.
Did you know the head writer at the Rosie O'Donnell show, Linda Smith?
Very well.
So you're gonna see this is where it all connects. I took a class with I took a comedy class and Linda Smith taught it.
Yeah, Caroline. Yeah.
That's how I got started. Which I never.
Oh wow, Linda's great. Yeah,
I love Linda. Linda was my first like like supporter. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was 30 people in that class and me, and the first day I did it, because I went to college for a year. I dropped out.
Right.
And started doing stand up because that's the only thing I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was it. And I hated being in college. And I had a close friend who just passed away about a year ago who went on to sing, and she played like 5 different instruments. She was amazingly talented. But we were really close when we were younger. And then in high school, senior year turns around, everybody's going to college. She's going to LA. And she's like, don't be fucking stupid. Come to Los Angeles. She wrote it in my yearbook. She wrote it. She left me messages, and I still have saved, and all this other crap. And she was like, you want to do just fucking do it. Yeah. And I was too, everybody he was doing that. My girlfriend was just going to do it.
You got him? Okay.
There he is.
Oh, sorry. Am I here?
Yeah.
You're back now.
You are. Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. Sorry. So I don't know where I left off, but I'll go to, she goes to LA, but like, she wants me to do that. And I don't, I just go to college because I think it's a safe bet. My girlfriend at the time is going, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So anyway, drop out after a year. I see the comedy class thing, and my parents are like super cool with it. I take the class, and I didn't know that you had to prepare material. So the first day I get in there, and she's like, all right, you all have your first 2 minutes, go up and do whatever. But I had been writing stuff forever. Like, I want to be, but I had a notebook anyway. So she's like, go up and do 2 minutes. And I was like, well, I don't have anything. I didn't prepare anything for the class. And she's like, I don't care. She's like, just go up and do 2 minutes of whatever the fuck you want to do. And I did. And I had like some stuff that I'd written down in my notebook for years, but like I just went and improvised 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And she loved it. And then she had us do all these awesome exercises, and all this other stuff. But for the main part, as I built this 5-minute set, and I have it. And it was about Caroline's, and I did really well. I mean, for somebody that knew, right? But the best thing is I blew through my material. I ran through it. It was I had a row of my, just one table only, because I didn't invite a ton of people, but it was my mom, my stepdad, and like 5 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
And then they all came to New York. And the rest, for whatever reason, I just lucked out that the people that were on that show brought everybody they fucking knew. So I got to perform in front of strangers, basically.
That's great.
Yeah, set goes well, but I run out of my material. So I start to do what I have honed over the years, which is just improvise a little bit. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, but I had a lot of stuff I was going to say, but most of it sucked or whatever. And I'm like, and I said, Linda said she would give me the light when I went over, but I don't see the light. And she just knew she could play with me. So she was like, you're not over. And I was like, what? She goes, you're not over. I go, thanks. And it was just this back and forth. So she was just, I mean, immediately after that, she was like, she gave me another gig somewhere else, told else to book me on a thing. And then that was it.
I always told her if I ever got a sitcom, she was going to play my wife.
Oh my God. That
I would love to have been me and her as a husband and wife on a show, would have been great. I love Linda.
She's so great. And I remember the first time I got to see her, because she wouldn't let any of us come see her because we were her students,
Right.
But I got to hang out with her and Colin Quinn.
Oh yeah.
And I was, again, too young, too new, but Colin couldn't have been nicer. I don't know him that or didn't know him that well, and still don't know him that well, but couldn't have been nicer. And great she guy. Fucking crushed.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, they're both great. Two more people who I started out. That's my generation.
Wow.
Colin and I auditioned for a play at the Latin Quarter years ago.
Oh wow!
Really? What was the play?
I don't even know what it was. Just him and I were the only 2 comics. Everybody else was actors. So him and I just met at that point, and we're sitting in the back just making fun of all the actors because we were the only 2 comedians.
Right. Oh, that's I would have paid to be a fly on the wall listening to you 2 shit on the other actors in the room.
Yeah, back in the day, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's fucking great. Yeah, that was. I mean, I love that you know Linda too, because that was I think I got a call. She's been really nice. Again, I just lucked out, man.
Wow, you just reminded me I should give her a call.
Yeah.
Let's hear on at least.
Oh my God.
Reach out on Facebook or something. That's what I love Facebook about because you could be in touch with everybody or nobody from every aspect of your life.
Yeah. And by the way, that was another thing too, is she always put me up when if I needed to work out something, if I had a TV set that I was preparing for, if I had whatever it was, and I called Linda, she'd be like, yeah, come on my whatever show on Monday at Caroline's. And she'd always put me up. Couldn't have been nicer to me.
She's a comic nurturer. She nurtures comics.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. She was very protective. Like I remember somebody had I'll tell you afterward or whatever, but somebody had come up to me. I had a good set. Yeah. And this comic that had been around forever came up and did that thing where, unsolicited advice. It was like, you do this, don't do that. And you do whatever. And Linda came up, I remember, and just going, get the fuck away from my comedian.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, don't listen to him. You're whatever. I remember that, like, she swooped in like a mom immediately.
There's a lot of comics that'll do that because they're so they don't want any other comics in the business. They want it all for them, and they don't want anybody else working. Rodney told me, he said, for as many people as there are in show business, that's how many ways there are to make it in show business.
Wow.
There's no blueprint. There's no blueprint. There is no blueprint, whether you're a comic, a singer, an actor, no matter what you are in show business, there is no blueprint on how to, quote, make it or not.
Right. That's great.
You just perform and do whatever you do. If there's an audience, they'll find you. If you can make a living at it, you will. If not, the audience and the universe will tell you have to, do something else.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of a few that are left from my generation on Long Island. I mean, it's me, Melvin George, Peter Bales, John Truson, maybe Bartlett, and Nelson doesn't really work that much anymore. But there's out of 180 to 100 of my contemporaries that started my generation. There's only 4 left. 4 left that are here. Wow. And I did a lot of road too. There was 7 years where I actually left Long Island, and because I didn't get along with the club owners at the time, 2 of the club owners at the time, and I just did the road. I did a lot of road. But there was also a time when there was, between 8 and 10 full-time clubs here on Long Island. There used to be a club out in East Quogue called Laughs, and Chris Rock opened up for me there. And also years ago, there was a place called the Mowbray Street Cafe, and I was the first one to bring comedy to television on Long Island because cable had just come out on Long Island, Group W cable. And it went to 120,000 households, and they had like 100 channels, and they had nothing to fill in the channels. So one of the channels, my friend who I went to high school with, Tony Luisi, he and this guy Lou Schaffberg managed Group W cable over in Islip, which is right next to Bayshore. And they had a channel where these 2 guys these fishermen who were clammers on the Great South Bay, they'd sit in these lawn chairs and they'd go, I got a couple of bushels of Little Necks, or I got some cherry stones. And it was like, you couldn't watch it for more than 5 seconds. So Tony said, why don't we do like an evening at the Improv or a comedy show at the Mowbray Street Cafe? They're already doing shows there. How about you produce it, you host it, you do your own warm-up, and we get comics from the comedy clubs on Long Island, East Side, and the city to come out and do it. Well, we did about 20 of those shows, and Rich Jenny had done it, and a bunch of other comics have done it. Matter of fact, the girl who was an intern on that show just reached out to me. And then there was another kid one night that comes in, little curly-headed kid, and he goes, hey, Mr. Kola, you mind if I do 5 minutes on the show? I go, how long do you live around here? He goes, I'm in town for a couple weeks. My grandmother lives in Bayshore. So I said, do you got any material? He goes, I got a couple of jokes. And he goes, you want me to come back next week? Yeah, come on back. So I said, yeah, come on back next week. Just organize 5 minutes and I'll put you up. Adam Sandler.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
To this day, when I see him, because he did it when I was warming up Kevin James's show, the Kevin Can Wait and the crew over here in Bethpage, Adam was on it. And
Right.
as soon as he sees me, he comes up to me and goes, "Remember that show we did, man? Yeah, I was like 15 years old, and you hosted, and you put me on." And yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
He's another guy who just seems like such a chill, down to earth,
Great
like
guy. Great,
nice.
chill, same thing. Another guy, people are confident in themselves. When you're confident being with yourself, whether you're alone around people, you exude that, and it makes people feel comfortable around you.
Right.
You want to hear
Yeah,
something
and I always
funny?
like that he. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say they had Larry Hankin on Jason's show the other day. I didn't get to see it because I was gigging, right?
Who?
So,
Right.
Larry Hankin. So he was Mr. Heckles, but in Billy Madison, he was Carl, Crazy Carl.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they asked him something about Adam Sandler. He's like, I really didn't get along with him. He was a prankster. I need to rewatch this interview and see what happened to him.
I don't know why he would say that.
That's hilarious.
Right? I'm like,
He was a prankster.
unbelievable.
That's another thing too, and I don't know if that must be that Long Island thing, man. Like, I like that he kind of takes care of his friends. Like you always see him, Spade,
and he was funny back then. Adam was funny as a teenager. I mean, his grandmother lived in Bayshore, but he's from Vermont. New Hampshire, I think. So I guess they were originally from Brooklyn, but I think they moved to New Hampshire afterwards or whatever. So he was down visiting his grandmother in Bayshore. So he just stopped in to see what was going on and asked to go on. So.
That's cool.
One of my favorite jokes is when he was younger is when he used to say, my father told me to find a girl to marry a girl who thinks the same way as a family, and he said, well, why would I want to marry a girl who thinks I'm a schmuck, Dad? Like the best kid, teen line. It's so great.
That's great.
Yeah. Man. Well, I think that we broke a record.
We did?
Yeah.
I think we did. This is the longest. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like we just got started, didn't it?
I know.
Right?
It does seem like we just got.
I feel like we could do a full 90-hour one with you, Joey.
I could write a book. Everybody's telling me to write a book, so I think I'm going to sit down. Last time I saw Ray Romano, you got to write a book, man. You got to write a book. So my wife's been telling me, and so many people have been telling me to write a book. Just did this, Long Island just did a thing on the fanfare funny story, the history of comedy on Long Island.
Oh my God, nice. Look at that.
That picture of me and Leno, and then there's Eddie Murphy and Jackie Martling, and we did a whole thing about about comedy on Long Island, the history of comedy on Long Island, and there's some great pictures there. There's Murphy on stage at the East Side Comedy Club and stuff, and
with Bartlett,
with Bartlett there, and Kevin
and
James
Jackie
on stage, and so
oh my God, that's great.
So the comedy. I actually helped this guy with this article, and
that's fantastic, man.
But it's been a wild ride, man. I didn't even tell you about my cruise ship stuff that happened with that.
I'm gonna have you back. First of all, I need to have you back on again, but I know Joe Starr wants to come on side by you both want to come on, and that's gonna be
my great buddy. He's so we'd love to do it together. I'm
gonna have you both on.
Appreciation for old vaudeville and stuff like that too.
He does, and he's got this Rolodex of just street jokes and shit.
He's nobody tells jokes like him, but he's real show business educated.
Yes,
he's knee deep in the acting end and everything. I mean,
we talk every day, almost every day or every other day.
Yeah, he's my good buddy.
And you guys talk all the time. He'll either be like, I just got off the phone with Cole. He will be talking and he'll be like, oh, Cola's calling me. I got to go. Click.
Yeah.
I know where I stand. That's so great.
Well, you're still young yet. We're still putting stuff together so we could speak at each other's eulogies, whichever one goes first. So
that's great.
Coming down to the nitty gritty right now. Don't forget to tell because we're producing our funerals basically at this point.
That's great.
This has been great, man. Thanks for having me on this. I've been looking forward to this. I mean, I do a lot of podcasts and some Zoom shows here and there, but I knew with being here with you guys, it was going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to talk business and just nice hang, and that's what it was.
Thanks, man. Seriously, I've been looking forward to this too, and I'm glad you got to come on. And we got. I'm seriously. I'm so. This was like the easy for me, man. You did all the talking. I didn't have to do. This is great. No, seriously,
it on is what I am.
I'm having flashbacks to my great grandmother right now. Stop. Yeah, oh man. Well, seriously, thanks again for coming on, and we'll do it again soon, man. Because this is. I know you got more to talk about, and I got more questions.
You got it, Tom. It's been a pleasure to work with you, my friend.
Such a pleasure. I can't wait to see you on more of it. We love to have you every time you're on the station, man. You're so good.
Man. Thank you. Well, give me a call. We'll do it every so often, okay?
I can't. I'm gonna hold you to it. I promise you, 150%.
You guys got my number. You're not bothering me. Call me whenever you want. I'm always available.
Perfect.
I'll be in my yard doing my plants, or feeding my birds, or raising butterflies.
Yeah. I love it. You have a great energy, man. I feel like it's such a positive. Like I enjoy a lot of John's guests. Like a lot of people that we've been blessed to have in this circle of everybody that I've been fortunate enough to meet through all you guys.
Thank you.
Just good energies, and you put it out into the world, and I feel like that's a big thing. I think that's what I enjoy most. I said a lot of people took a lot of bad out of this pandemic. I was like, I went from like my career of what I did, like because it's in live entertainment, just froze. So I never would have been in these circles if I didn't get the chance to meet all of these amazing people. And you're one of those amazing people. I appreciate that.
I'm a director. I'm just a vessel. Not that I want to get religious or anything, but the Holy Spirit lives and exudes through me. So everything you see has nothing to do with this thing. This thing it has to do with what's moving through me into the world, because we're only here for a half hour. So I'm hoping
I appreciate that.
can make it. If I can just end on this one note, when my mother passed away, I had kind of an epiphany, and when you have like a line, let me just get a pen. Well, a lot. There's just a line, there's a pencil, right? There's a line.
Yeah.
The line. So there's a dot, let's just say there's a dot in the middle of this line right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The dot in the middle of the line is us alive now on the planet. A finite amount of people, whether it be 700 billion or whatever it is. It's a dot the size of a pinhead right there. Now, this side of the dot are the people that have been here and gone. This side of the dot are the souls that haven't been here yet. We're a finite amount, which means that we're in a very, very, very small minority, just being alive here on the planet at the same time.
Yeah.
So the souls that haven't been here and the ones that have already been here and gone are in a vast majority. So it's about that. So whatever is moving in the universe, whether you want to call it God or whatever, moves through in a positive way. If you could harness that and tap into it and be privy to it, hip to it, and you could share it, then you will have validated whatever existence the Holy Spirit intended for you. And I try to live that out every day. Do I? No, I can't keep the promises every day because anger sneaks in, but we're human. Right. What are you going to do? So
yeah, exactly.
I appreciate being here in the moment with you guys,
Same here,
Likewise,
man. Same here. And the beauty of it is you take that anger and make it something that other people could relate to and feed off of and use it in such a positive way. Like when you get on stage, you're able to connect with people over that.
It's basically harmless.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's a great thing.
Listen, guys, great time. Thank you very much for having me. And I'll talk to you both soon, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Man. Take care. Have a good night, man. Peace.
All right, you too. I'm tired now. Oh, my God.
Dystopia tonight.